Hello, everyone, and this is the 17th session of the Devouring campaign. Uh, the guy who usually plays Howler is not here this week. He's a little bit busy, and I'm still not sure about Ian. He will be returning whenever it is that he can, but well, he has to deal with some stuff. So we'll get into. So, just so everyone who's watching this can have some context, we had a few days in between games that we did just some. I talked with each player, see what they wanted to do for the couple days, make sure that they get their little minor things done, and we're going to have that little recap as well as our Lore Master recap of the previous session. So, go ahead.
All right. Last time we were in the darkness. We we set out from the Tabaxi place, but we took with us the statue or the construct, and then we learned that it was actually a person, whose name is Thrainin, or
Hello. You got it right the first time.
Okay, good. And then, yeah, we made it back through the wall and got back home and looked for repairs for Thrainin, as well as Howler kind of sat down with his friends and stuff and started playing games and smoking. And then, yeah, we kind of took 2 days to do our own thing. Jaden spent most of the time with the gnomes and Rock Thrower, just tilling the fields, getting it ready for planting. And also he looked in the temple to try and find some seeds. Found some unknown seeds that he hasn't decided to plant or not yet. And that's it for Jaden.
All right. I'll do Ben's now since he's technically not here. Let me see. So, on the first day, I'm just rereading to make sure I get it right. So he took a break on it's technically 3 days that we had off, or you guys did. So on the first day, he just wanted to take a break and hang out with his buddies that he hasn't had a chance to interact with much lately. So he just hung out with them. Let me see. So, but after he was partaking of that stuff, he had a very strange dream, and it seems to be bothering him a little bit. And he went off in the woods for a while. On the second day, let me see. That's just a bunch of stuff that he's not going to reveal at the moment. He also spoke. He went down to the Duragar because he ordered some dark iron bolts or black iron bolts, and they actually got a mix up with him and somebody else, and they made arrows instead. So he also has some arrows with him as well as his bolts, because they actually made his bolts. And he went and talked to Fizzleboom for a while, and he came up with like a chemistry like beaker carrier with like 6 beakers on it, and he says that they're healing potions. He also went to speak with you, Jaden, to see what happened to his poisonous plants that he's been using to harvest poison. And you said that you planted them and they need to flower in order to get seeds and stuff like that. So he decided to wait on that. Let me see. Yeah, that's about it for him. Unless if you wish to ask him later, he may tell you about his dream that was bothering him. But other than that, that's about it. So now our last person can go give their recap.
The other bin. Anyway, basically, Freyan, what he was doing during his 3 days was, well, first part of it was, of course, he was, getting himself repaired, which his outer body is pretty much repaired now. He melted down a lot of more metal and that stuff to work with, so he had it later on, I believe. He also found out that chunk of metal he bought was a basilisk scale, correct?
It was Gorgon. Gorgon metal.
Gorgon, thank you. Yeah, and I can't remember. Anyway, and then after that, he also worked on and he upgraded his gun, so now the gun can fire 2 times without having to reload it.
Actually, I think you did the elemental.
Did I? Oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I upgraded the gun. And then Fran followed Jaden into the temple.
Yes, Jaden. Mike, who's playing Jaden, forgot to mention that he heard a sound when he was in the temple, and this is where we're going to pick up. Actually, I'm just gonna don't want to.
You could take over from this point. That I kind of led that for you to do that.
All right, that's cool. So this part already has rolls and everything. So Jaden, I did get you to roll for perception at one point, and but I didn't tell you because you didn't know.
I rolled amazingly.
Yeah, he got like 27 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck?
So, yeah, you couldn't hear him at all. So anyway, Jaden, when you went into the temple to look for the grain, when you were leaving, you heard a noise, and then you just sort of looked around for a bit, but you didn't really see anything, and you just sort of walked out. So Thranen, what he did was he saw you going into the temple, and he was curious because you were going into an area that seemed like a resting area, and nobody else is going in the temple, so he was sort of curious as to what you were doing. And he saw that you went into a back area that he's never seen before, so he walked into the back area and he sort of watched you for a little bit, tried to see what you were doing, and he noticed that while you were looking for the grain, you looked in one of the other boxes, and it was the one with the kobold skeleton. So he saw you like taking out pieces of bone, and he was sort of curious about that. But he went in and looked in the room, and he just didn't find anything too interesting. But when you left, Jaden, you hear a loud, like a few minutes after you've left. So you're standing outside with rock throwers sort of tilling the ground and looking at the seeds in your hands, deciding if you wanted to plant them or not. And then suddenly you hear a loud cracking bang type noise coming.
It kind of sounds like thunder. Thunder.
Yeah. And since we're also playing with Thranen. Thranen, you were curious about those doors that couldn't open, or weren't technically, and you were sort of examining the first one when you heard a loud squawking sound and banging on the other side of the wall, and you tried to blow the door open with a shot, but it was made of stone and thick stone, so it didn't get open.
Did it dent it or mark it at all?
Yeah, it made a little dent. Like you can go up to it and like you can tell that it's imperfectly
We can
smooth
wear
now.
it down.
Yeah, maybe with 100 or so shots you could make a hole in it, but I doubt you want to waste that ammo.
I don't, but I am going to definitely keep pounding on it. And then I'm going to go and see if I can get help. This door needs to be opened.
All right, so Jaden, you hear the noise coming from within the temple. What do you decide to do?
Can I discern whether it's which side of the temple it's coming from?
It's coming from the side where you just left from. So you heard a noise in there, so you're sort of suspicious about that anyway. So when you hear this loud crack, then that
Yeah.
sort of piques your interest.
I'll start running. I'm
All
afraid
right,
of what it might
so
You hear another crack. You hear another thunder.
all right, so you shot it again.
Yeah.
Right, so you leave another dent in it.
It can be dented.
All right, so by that time, Jaden, you're pretty much in there. You're going full speed, and he's not moving at all, so you can catch up to him, and you see him just sort of like shooting at the door and pounding on it, trying to get into this, where this, you know that the bird-like creature is.
What are you doing?
Trying to get in here and see what's in. I hear bird noises.
That's I can't remember what was inside of it, but what did my character
It's
remember?
a creature that the archaeologist, he showed you a picture of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you what it was called, but
Right.
you can try to discern that if you want to make a nature check again. See if you
No, that's
remember.
okay. There's a lot of evil creatures behind these doors. I would be very careful. This is some sort of prison.
Oh, so they're evil. Can I make a nature check or a history check to see if I can remember any of what is in here?
I'd say he gives you a description, and I'll give you the description if you make a good on your nature check. So give me a nature
Okay.
check.
Yeah, I'll probably have to try.
Nature.
Oh, you did well. Well, Jaden did well anyway.
Goddamn, natural one.
Yeah. Jaden, you are aware of what this creature is, though you've only heard stories from the bards in the area where you're around from. Sometimes there would be like, what's it called, like bounties out for these creatures if they're like bothering people or things like that. They usually live underground, though. They're called hook horrors. And they have
I'm glad you prevented me from opening that door.
yeah, they have like bird type heads, and they have like long hooked claws for arms, and they have large shells on their back, and they're usually colored purple as well, so they can be fairly dangerous.
Okay. I'll also go up to the other doors and show Threenen that, this one has a spirit Naga inside.
What's so bad about Nagas? I thought they were friendly.
Yeah. They like to eat humans. That's what I thought, anyway.
Huh.
This particular type of Naga is considered chaotic and evil.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. I think I remember them bringing that one in.
And then this
It
last
ate
one
a few
has...
friends. It does eat people. Which one is the one? I know there's a friendlier one. I've talked to it before.
Yeah, they're guardian.
There you
Nagas.
go. That's what I was thinking. Okay. I don't know
This
why.
one's a spirit.
Okay.
And this last door has an Oni behind
Yes.
And there's an Oni down here? What the heck was my cult doing?
Well, they're behind stone slab doors, and as Jaden tells you about them, he describes that the first one that they examined was the Oni door, so they managed to get it open, and when they did, it was just sitting in the corner, and it wasn't really trying to attack anybody or anything. It looked extremely malnourished, And, well, since you know that this place has been defunct for many, many years, it's probably because it hasn't been fed or anything. And it was
Should
just
we
sitting
feed
in the
them?
corner. Onis eat children, so there's that, and spirit nagas eat people. And hook horrors, they tend to eat like humanoids and things like that.
Should we at least kill them? I feel as if it's wrong to just leave them here to rot.
Yeah, we've been thinking about that, but we don't know how strong they are.
Well, I can tell you how strong an Oni is. They're pretty strong. I personally would not advise getting in a combat situation. I would advise poison it. Wait, would poison work? I don't know. But like, I feel as if letting these guys just rot is just wrong.
Yeah, we got.
What is my character's alignment again? I need to make sure that that's actually in his alignment. Never mind, he's lawful neutral. Let him rot.
So the Onis tend to be related to, it's been theorized that they're related to giants because they're huge. So
That would be a good fury to base that on.
So, but they're large and blue, so they have blue skin and white hair.
So you say this door's been open, and the Oni didn't make any attempts to communicate with you, eat you,
It
fight
did
you?
attempt to communicate with them, but it wasn't very, it didn't, like, attack them or anything. It just sort of laid back, and when someone offered to feed it, it tried to grab them and eat them. But it didn't really fight them or anything. It just sort of lazily tried to grab them.
Oh. Well, that's about what I expected to hear from someone saying they tried to feed it.
So it just sort of lazily laid there, and it sort of tried to intimidate them a little bit, but it didn't really try to do anything. It looked like maybe it was too weak or something else was affecting it. They didn't really examine it too much.
Should we? Maybe we should try and kill it if it can't really do much. I just feel, for other things, couldn't they? These rooms. Instead, they have weird, strange creatures. The spirit naga. Me remembering something about the spirit nagas in the past. We might want to just leave that one alone.
Well,
Yeah.
while you're making that decision, are you, Jaden, going to tell him what's in the next 3 rooms?
Yeah, I was gonna go there next.
All right, go ahead.
So
It gets worse, doesn't it?
No, it's very strange. There's humans or humanoids in all these rooms. They don't seem to be dead, but they don't seem to be alive exactly. There's in some sort of stasis. We can't figure out.
Have you opened the doors?
Yeah, we've opened the doors, but
So is there a way for me to go in and examine them to see if I can remember anything about these creatures?
we couldn't figure out what the symbols meant or what the slabs that they lay on and how they kind of keep them alive.
All right, so you enter the room, and Thranen, you recognize these as members of the cult. These people are members of the cult that you used to interact with fairly frequently, and they're all just laying on these slabs like bunk beds almost, like 5 on each stack. And there's 3 stacks in the first room, 2 stacks in the middle room, and 3 stacks in the third room, and they're all just seem like they're in stasis.
Do I know if I can just wake them up, or is there a special procedure I would have to go through to wake them up?
You haven't seen these rooms before, so you didn't even know that they had this planned out or anything. So
I look back at Jade and I'm like, yeah, I know these people.
I have an idea, actually. I'm going to use Identify as a ritual on one of the bodies.
On
Yes,
one
please
of the
do.
bodies?
Yeah.
Okay. So Identify on a living creature would give you any magical effects and things like that on them.
Yeah, what spells are they under, basically?
Yeah. So, let me see.
Does it say how to break that too?
It would tell you what they are, and based on what they are, you might be able to figure out how to release them. But let me see. So the people, they seem to be like basically in stasis, is what you're getting. They're in some sort of spell that seems to be related to what they're laying on. And if you remember, um, Ian's character, Indaro, he attempted to examine one of the bodies, and when he did, he lifted it up from the slab, and it coughed a little bit, and then he put it back down. So perhaps if you get them out of the beds, they might wake up.
So you say you recognize these people?
Yes, they were members of my cult.
Let's find one that's reasonable and nice.
I'll get Thrain.
The most innocent-looking, like maybe child, woman, or something like that. Just like someone.
They all seem to be adults, and most of them are male, but there's a few female ones, relatively compared to the number of them.
Okay.
So,
can I make a perception check to see who looks the friendliest?
Yeah, I'm gonna get you to make an investigation check to see if you can find one that would be reasonable to wake up first.
And yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's investigation.
I don't think I did.
All right, let me see.
An 11.
No, you did just well enough. You had to have pretty much gotten a natural one in order to fail.
Well, I do know these people, so.
Yes, because that's why I lowered the. All right, so the first the person that you think would be the best to wake up is you find. Where's my thing here? One thing I didn't have ready. Scroll down.
Flashbacks to when my first DMing.
All right, here we go. Load. I'm just bad with names. That's all. So I'm looking.
It's okay. So was I.
Oh, come on.
Still am, in fact.
I'll reload it. Anyway, just so that way we can move forward, I'll get you the name when I pull it up. It's the High Priest. So
okay, I'll refer to him as High Priest then, because that's probably what I would refer to him by anyway.
Yeah. So he is there. You see him. He's just in stasis. Like they have their hooded robes that they would normally wear, and they're like decorated with black and silver, with silver like trimming and everything. And they have like on their chest, they have like the dragon head symbol.
Okay. Jaden, this is the High Priest. He'd probably be the best to wake up, or the worst, depending on your views of things. And I pick him up and take him off the bed.
All right, so as soon as you lift him up from the bed, he starts coughing and trying to regain his composure. So he's just like...
I set him down.
Do you set him down like on the floor next to the bed, or on the bed?
I take him outside and set him against the wall of the room so he doesn't fall back to sleep.
All right, fair enough. So he's
Jaden, can you get us some coffee?
He's just in a coughing fit at the moment. For the next few seconds, he's going to be. So you guys can make a decision while he's coughing, if you wish.
Well, I think he needs some coffee. Do you guys still have coffee?
I don't think so. I'm gonna stand
Not
back.
Damn it! Perhaps the most
You guys
amazing
have
invention of all has been lost.
you guys at the moment, since the world is ending, and you haven't found any nearby coffee bean trees, or anything like that. So you don't have any of those resources at the moment.
Damn it! I knew I should have held on to those seeds that old lady gave me traveling through.
So,
Anyway,
so if you wish to make a decision, he is still coughing at the moment.
should we wake up more people or wait for
We
it to
might-
get more information from him?
We might need to put them back. They might have some sort of disease.
All right.
Okay, we'll get information first, and then we'll see if we can put him back.
All right. So he recovers from his coughing fit, and he was sort of taking a breather while you guys were talking, and he sort of
Does he
stands up.
recognize me?
He gets up on his onto his feet, but he's still sort of leaning against the wall, and he says, and he's a pretty old looking dude. He's got like a big long beard, and he's human, of course, because this cult was mostly made up of humans. And
Can I ask, if I took my gun arm off, could he use it as a cane?
you don't think that it would stay stable enough unless if you were controlling it. So if it got detached, it would sort of like bend in half, sort of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, I get it.
You wouldn't
Okay.
be able to use it as that. So he just sort of is leaning against the wall, and he looks up at you and he says, "Is it you, really?"
Yeah, it's me, Fran. After 1,000 years, I've woke you up. How's it going?
1,000 years.
Yep, it's been 1,000 years. Well, I'm not sure actually if it's been 1,000 years for you guys, because you guys put me to sleep much. I'm not sure how long before whatever happened here, so I'm not really sure what happened.
Yes, we were about to deal with your situation when we had to go to sleep. He wipes his mouth as a little bit of dribble was dripping down.
Okay. Do you guys have some sort of disease or something, or is it just something happened?
He leans against the wall and he says, it's a long story. Do you trust your friend with her secrets?
Well, I mean, it's the reason, thanks to him, that I'm both alive and actually repaired. I look at Jaden. How many secrets can you keep?
As long as it keeps us safe, I'll keep anything.
Okay, I trust him.
All right.
And I kneel down near the priest.
He pats you on the shoulder and he says, "You are always obedient. Rise."
Okay. I rise.
All right. So he walks over to Jaden, and he is acknowledging you as a person. He's not like treating you like everybody else seems to be like a construct. He's treating you like a person, but he's walking over to Jaden at the moment, and he pats him on the shoulder. He pats Jaden on the shoulder, and he says, "So, who do you worship?"
Most of the people nowadays worship Senna.
Senna? Haven't heard of such a being. He keeps wiping his mouth instinctually.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a couple steps back. I'm just worried that they have some kind of contaminant or something.
He hasn't spoke on it yet, so you're not sure.
Yeah.
That's fine. He seems to be fine with you backing away from him, and he says, "Well, is it at least a good patron?" He seems to be trying to get kinks out of his muscles.
Yes, from what I understand, she's the god of light, and goodness, or the bird of light, something like that.
For the record, it's Brilliant Bird is her alternate name.
Okay.
So that would sort of give him a little bit of a clue of what it might be. And he starts thinking a little bit, and he says, I've heard of someone named Senna, and her nickname was the Brilliant Bird. Perhaps they're related. Anyway, do you mind helping us awaken everybody? Or is there some sort of situation that you would caution us away from waking up?
Why were you guys put to sleep?
He nods. He seems to be recognizing that this is truly 1,000 years after he's been asleep, because he said that they had to go to sleep soon after they deactivated Thrainin because something happened. So he is going to explain it to you. So he goes into the room and he walks over to the bed that he was laying on, which was one of the lower ones. So he reaches in and he fiddles around with something on the back of the bed, and it seems to, you hear a like an almost mechanical shutting down type noise, and he sits on the bed and he says, well, our dragon we worshipped, he said it was necessary for us to go to sleep for a while. We figured that our guards would awaken us maybe a few years later, but I suppose something bad must have happened. Not sure. He said that we had to wait for some event. He wasn't very clear on that, and he seems to be. He seems like he's just woke up from a really long sleep that was too long, so he's sort of dazed a little bit.
And who is this dragon?
Thraxian. I don't know if the tales of Thraxian have survived.
Not that I know of.
But you do know that keep forgetting his name. Indaro. He read some books that were in here, and he found out a bit about their religion.
By the way, guys, I'm not sure if you noticed, but I dropped from the call. My computer decided to restart on me in the middle of that. That's what just happened. So what just happened? What was going on for like the last 5 minutes? I had to get on my tablet.
All right, so
No, sorry.
that's fine. Technical issues are to be expected. The high priest was just basically saying that the dragon that they worship was telling, he somehow got a message from it. He's not being specific about that they needed to go to sleep for some specific event. He's not being very specific at the moment, needless to say. But he's saying that basically
That's
the dragon.
the high priest for you.
He's telling you that they had to go into stasis because they were needed for some sort of, perhaps to aid somebody. He's not being specific.
Huh.
Oh, and the only other thing that happened was that he walked into the room with the beds, and he walked to the one that he was on, and he seemed to turn it off.
Okay.
So,
Oh, are we still down there with him?
yep, you guys are still there. We were in the middle of explaining. He was in the middle of explaining what happened.
Okay.
But he was being very vague, and Jaden was just about to ask something. But
Can I tell if he's telling the truth about, like, the dragon telling him to go sleep?
all right, that would require an
specific-
insight check.
Insight.
I'll make one of those too as soon as I get my computer back on working and get into Roll20 again.
That's all right. Jaden got a 20 anyway, so you, Jaden, you seem to think that he believes what he's saying, but whether or not what he's saying is true, that's completely up for debate. He believes what he's saying.
Well, we might be in the middle of an event that we might need help.
Well, do you mind telling me what's going on then? I
How
am.
about
Shadow has consumed the world, and we're the one, all that is left.
Shadow. Oh, goodness. No wonder we were asked to sleep on it, I suppose. So, I suppose we could help you out if you need assistance.
By the way, they've
So
totally taken up refuge in the temple while you guys were asleep, just so you know.
So there are refugees here.
This is like the one place I believe in the world that's not consumed by shadow. Am I correct in thinking that, Jaden?
we believe so.
Yes, pretty much. The bubble creatures are also part of it. The bubble creatures seem to be behind this large wall of darkness. So you can basically say what you've said, and he'll probably get the gist. Something really bad's happening. So he's just sitting there, and he seems to be contemplating what's going on.
Should we wake everyone else up?
He says, well, I understand if you don't trust us. We are an ancient culture, after all, and you probably don't know much about us.
My biggest worry is that coughing that you seem to go through when we wake you up.
Well, have you ever been asleep for 1,000 years?
No, that's not.
That
I want to look him over.
We weren't sick when we went to sleep, so unless we caught a pathogen in our stasis, then I would assume we were fine.
I'd like to see if he does have any illness or anything.
You can make a medicine check to see if he's truly, suffering from a disease.
Yeah.
I'll make one of those chew.
Well,
I'm just rolling a real dice,
yeah.
though.
Jaden got a 14, so did you get higher than 14?
I got a 19.
All right, well, then you seem to have acute senses, as constructs tend to have, and you sort of examine him, and he just seems to be suffering from, what a person would be suffering from if they were bedridden for a long time, that sort of thing.
Yeah, man, he's just been asleep for 1,000 years.
So his muscles might be atrophied and that sort of thing, so he might have a hard time walking.
Okay. So, I don't know. We could probably wake him up, but I'm not sure how much food we'll have for everyone.
He nods and he says, well, it's been 1,000 years. That's too much to hope that our farm survived.
No. We've been tilling up the earth just at our camp just to try and get something growing. Oh, I'll show you these seeds. I don't know what they are. Maybe you do.
He looks
A shame none of us are 12th level druids or anything with the ability to do that whole plant growth spell. That would be very useful right now.
Yeah. You guys do know that there is a druid in the camp, but he's not powerful enough to.
Yeah, I talked to him.
Actually, quick question. Do I know the power level of the high priest? Does he have any abilities or anything?
The only magical abilities he would have are divine abilities like healing and those sorts of things, and radiant attacks, maybe.
Hey, that's good enough for me.
So
he can't heal me all that much because I'm a construct, but
Yeah, so he has healing abilities and those sorts of things.
Anyone in the cult, the people that built me, know how to use those spells.
What spells in particular word again?
So I remember the one when I sent you that PDF, because I'm not. By the way, I'm not using the Wizards at the Coast version of the Warforge.
Yeah.
Uh, would those like reconstruct and repair? Is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, if the engineers who built you are among them, they would know how to repair you. Yeah.
Yay! Hey, okay, I actually go and ask that. Hey, are any of the engineers that built me here?
He seems to be in a bit of a daze. He's thinking way more than he's been in the past 1,000 years. So he's thinking a little bit slowly, and he's like, probably. I can't fully recall. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's go wake everyone up, Jaden.
So he's going to be sitting on the bed for the moment.
Yeah, I'll give him a little bit of my rations and some water.
All right, he'll take them. He looks at the packaging of, like, when you guys have rations, and you guys still have some of your leftover rations from, like, when you've been running away, you've been gathering rations. So you still have a few of those left, and you basically have like tins full of food, like dried food and those sorts of things. And when you give it to him, he looks at it and he says, "Interesting." And he sort of pulls on the thing that opens on the top, so that way he can get into it. And he's sort of taking the food out. He seems.
I think before we wake everybody up, we should take him to see what kind of our status is. See if he can, because all these people seemed very malnourished, and we don't have much food left.
You know what? That's a good idea. Yeah, let's get him up to speed, and then we'll see if it's actually a good idea to wake everyone up.
I also want to ask him if he knows what these seeds that I have, these mystery seeds.
Oh yes, he did look at them. So we'll rewind a little bit to when he was looking at them, but I sort of skipped over it because I forgot. So he was
Sorry.
looking at the seeds, and he says, "These are magical seeds, but I don't know if they'll grow."
Maybe if you plant them in the ground, they'll grow to the sky.
Well, these particular seeds, they were magically engineered to be more bountiful, but perhaps those arts are lost, or perhaps you have better enhanced versions. And the way that he's talking, no, you don't have anything like that.
Yeah.
So he offers them back to you.
Okay. So, but they don't make anything dangerous.
Oh no, we used to eat this stuff all the time.
Okay. So maybe I will plant these and get the rest of them.
So he's just sort of eating, and he says, "So, how much of the city still remains?"
Only the temple. Everything else is in ruins.
Yes, I suppose everybody else left. That's sad to hear.
Hmm.
He seems to be mourning his his entire culture seems to have died out, and he's sort of mourning that at the moment.
Yeah. Well,
I'll join him, because it hasn't really sunk in, but that was my culture too.
Yeah. So the entire city, the entire way of life of that city is long dead. Everybody moved away from here because they wanted to have more easy access to magic. They didn't want to have to enhance things to make it more powerful anymore, so they left this area. So this entire place got abandoned eventually.
What a shame.
So he sort of gets out of his daze and he gets up and he says, "So, did you want to show me something?"
Yeah, I'd like to show you the camp, as well as the wall in the distance. And I'll just offer him my, to lean on me.
He accepts. He's not gonna shy away. He's not gonna try to power through it at the moment. He's not that kind of person.
Wait, I'd say, and I pull out my sword. I'm like, I'm not the strongest anymore, so you might want to use this as a cane.
He sort of takes the sword and he leans on the sword and he also leans on Jaden. So
Okay, there you
he's using it as sort of like two sides to lean on.
Yeah, because
So,
I just thought something. I'm not really a strength-based person anymore. Here you go.
he nods and he says, "Seems like you slimmed yourself down a little bit. I like the new look." And he
Yeah,
keeps going.
I'm also a lot darker in color now. I used to be a lot more silver.
Yes, I'm very well aware. It's interesting. Though I do wish you were a bit more silver, but we'll deal with that in time.
Yeah.
So you guys exit this area, and he comes out and he looks over the, like, you guys get to the outside, and he's just looking over like the rubble, that's a little bit of rubble that remains of the city, and he's just sort of looking out at it and he's thinking, and he's just nodding and looking back and forth, and then the refugee camp is in the front of the temple. You guys, when you exit, he also gets over the refugee camp, and he says, "So, you don't mind mixing with the other races, then?" It's sort of like your racist grandpa, and he's just saying things. So he's like,
Yeah.
"You don't mind mixing with the other races, then, huh?"
So long as we don't try and kill each other, as long as they don't try and kill us, we accept us. We all have the same goal of survival right now.
High priest, they have a cave troll.
Interesting. We, as you know, and he's talking to you, Brandon, and he's like, we tended to err on the side of killing them first, so this might be interesting. How times have changed.
Times have definitely changed, though. The Duragar are working with us now.
Perhaps they wisened up. Though
They
maybe
did.
not.
I don't think they did. It's just everyone is dying, and if they didn't, they die too. So, etc. That's a great motivator for allying people.
It's a shame that it takes the world to end to bring people together. And he pats Jaden on the shoulder. And he'll go wherever you lead him. He's sort of leading on Jaden. So wherever Jaden goes, he's going with you at the moment.
Now, head for the top of the temple, if you can make it, and we'll take rests as accordingly.
He's sort of like one of those old men that needs like to take every step very slowly, that sort of thing. That's the sort of shape he's in at the moment.
He's kind of that really slow. Oh, it's a very slow NPC escort mission.
Yeah, it's one of those missions where like you're walking really slowly, carrying somebody to get them to like 30 feet away, but it takes 10 minutes to get there because of how slow you're walking, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it takes you a little bit of time to get up there, but he'll get up there.
Running circles around Jaden, and he's like running across the map and stuff. I'm like, hey guys, I was just to that mountain we were talking about back. Yeah, it's been a year.
Yeah, so you get there about 10 minutes it takes you to get up there, which normally would take you like a minute or two to get up. So it took you a little while, but you can tell that normally he probably would have been able to take it at your speed. He's not that old. It's just that his muscles aren't doing very well at the moment. So that's why it's taking him a little bit longer. But he gets up to that. So what do you wish to show him?
Just the darkness wall. The
All right.
situation.
All right, fair enough.
Friend.
So he looks out and he sees that there is in fact a wall, but he sees that there are like sections that are missing out of it because it still hasn't repaired or anything. So he looks over and he sees that strange phenomena and he says, "Yes, this doesn't look good to say the least."
I have many questions, even though I've already seen this. But my biggest one is, do you have any idea what type of creature could be behind this?
So you're asking him or Jin?
Yeah, the high priest, because this is like the guy when I was growing up that you would go to about advice and stuff. So like now that he's back, I'm like, I'm going to him about advice and
All
stuff.
right, fair enough. And he says, "Oh, child, you are always curious." And he pats you on the shoulder. Even he's treating you like a human being, even though you're made of metal, like he always has. And he looks out over this expanse and he says, "Well, there's been stories of things like this in the past. Well, not exact, but world-ending events. They were usually caused by very powerful people, gods, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure. Perhaps if I had been awake when it was first happening, I would be able to give you more information."
Okay. Well, thank you for the answer.
He nods and he pats you on the shoulder again and he says, well, the rest of the council were debating over whether or not to reactivate you before we went to sleep, but I'm sorry that we didn't get the chance.
Yeah. All right. Just not that I minded it.
It was, we were waiting for a unanimous decision, but there were a few holdouts. Most of us were trying to get you reactivated because we made a treaty with the people that you saved from that overzealous scout. So
I assume that when he mentions and brings up the scout, if someone wants to roll a really high insight check, they can see that there's a little bit of pain that seems to come up with that thought and that memory.
right.
It's very subtle and very quickly it goes over with. So
You
it goes
can
away.
you can roll that if you want, Jaden.
Sure. What do I roll?
Insight.
Wait. Wow. There we go. All right. Insight. 11.
Is that high enough for him to notice? It's 11. You are muted. Is 11 high enough for him to notice?
I rolled a 14. So.
All right. So he seems off for a moment, but you don't really notice it. So,
It's like for the briefest of instances.
all right, fair enough. So, yeah, let me roll for the high priest. Why not? See if he notices. 'Cause he'll care about that. So if he does notice, he'll say something. He's a priest, so he has decent insight, I'll say.
Yeah.
Did I get? I got the same number, so I got 11. So he didn't notice, but he's just seems preoccupied with the wall at the moment.
Yeah.
So he just sort of looks up at you again, and then he says, we were hoping to get you activated so that way you could be our vanguard, but we didn't have time.
That's understandable. Man, though, that would have been a very boring 1,000 years.
He nods and says, probably. Although some people may have came and visited you from time to time.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there were people apparently examining the site, so, that's something.
Yes, probably. And he was curiously looking around as you guys were leading him up, and he seems happy that at least the temple has survived. So he's just examining the shadow wall for as long as you guys keep him here, but he seems like he's willing to follow Jaden around since he's leaning on him.
I have. Down there near the rooms that you guys were in, we found a couple rooms with weird creatures in them. Were there any more of those rooms hidden in the temple with any other weirder creatures? Or were those the weirdest? I have many questions.
He nods and he says, that was the reason why I didn't show you those rooms. I knew that you would feel compassion for those creatures. And you did in fact feel compassion.
I kind of...
Well, you did at first when you didn't know what they were.
Probably, yeah, but then I was like, child eater, soul eater. I'm like,
yeah.
No, they can rot.
So he was like, so we didn't want to take the risk of you wanting to free them, so that's why we left them secret. But the reason they are there is because they were powering our stasis beds.
Oh. Kind of glad I... By the way, I look at Jin. Did you guys ever reseal that Oni?
Yeah, the door was resealed.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I just found that. I'm not sure how good of an idea it is to have an unsealed prison door with an Oni just hanging out there.
Yeah, Howler, he made sure to reset the stone door. Since he's a thief, he knows how to reset things so that they don't look like they were tampered with, that sort of thing. So that's what he did.
Okay. Good.
So he made sure that it was fixed. So he says, yes, those creatures were threatening us at one point or another, and we decided to use them for a power source.
Talk about avoiding killing. That's a great way to avoid killing, using your enemies as power instead.
Although, before we powered up the stasis, we had to feed them, and needless to say, it wasn't pleasant. We took them as offerings, the things that we would give them. Hopefully, they went to a better place. So he seems to be referring to the story.
The children.
Yeah, he seems to be referring to those boxes that had like. Jaden, you would remember that the memorial that you guys built, that was based from the child skeleton that was in the box. So they were feeding it children to keep it alive before they were using it as a power source. That's at least what he's saying, anyway.
I think my cult is as lawful neutral as I am.
Though they were worshipping a good dragon, so perhaps they thought that it was for the greater good.
Yes.
So
this was all out of character, by the way. I did not say that to the high priest.
Yeah, so he looks over at Jaden and he says, "So I assume that you found it, the
Yeah.
room with the food in it."
Yes.
Yes, I do. There's no excuse that I could probably give you. The culture's changed probably by now, so judge me as you will. But I thought it would be for the greater good.
What race is he, by the way?
He's human.
Oh, he's just human. Okay.
Most
Yeah.
of the people of this cult were human.
Yeah, like I said, they were kind like we were talking about. We were kind of racist.
Slightly. You would judge people based on whether or not you thought that they were pure
They would-
of body, which means like no cursed blood, which could mean things like being an orc might be of cursed blood, being lycanthropic, that would be cursed blood, those sorts
the
of things.
the lemur people would be probably be looked down upon by our cult.
Yes, but
So would
they didn't
probably the
really find
Duragar.
them. Yeah, the Durgar, they do have a curse in their blood as well, which is from the Mind Flayers. So, different races that had curses in their blood, they would look down on them.
Yeah, basically the
And it was
tier
pretty.
of
It was pretty blatant too. It was pretty blatant too. Like if a half orc came to your guys' town, they would be shunned immediately. That sort of thing, or killed
not
even.
killed though.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I was waiting for that. Yeah. Okay. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. By the way, what was up with the cobalt skeleton? Like, what was going on there?
He says, that was for the Naga.
Ah, okay. I'm gonna leave the group now and go towards the room that had the cobalt skeleton. And after hearing what they did for the little kid skeleton, I'm gonna start doing the same for the cobalt. It was a
Yeah.
person at one point too.
Yeah. Well, they figured that it would be better to get rid of the something that was going to kill them, maybe. So instead of they tried to. It seems like they were trying to do their best to keep these things alive, to keep them for a power source, sort of thing. So they were trying their best, but you can judge them as you will. He even said so. You can judge him however you wish. Well, he's still with you,
So now
James.
it's just Jade. It's just the Jade with the High Priest. I've got off to go give the memorial thing to the
Right.
Cobalt.
All right, fair enough. So while he's doing that, do you want to do anything with the high priest, Jaden?
Yeah. I'll tell him that there is someone who might be interested to meet him, but it might be kind of draining on him to go to the archaeologist.
The archaeologist. So you
Yeah.
want him to meet him?
Well, I'll tell them that he's been very interested in the temple, and he'd be very interested in you and learning your story. But he might be a little bit taxing to talk to him for so long.
He nods and he says, "We did have people of that sort in our time. When we were modern, there were ancients to us. So I am familiar with this concept."
But I'm wondering, are you up to that, or would you rather?
Well, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind waking up the rest of my people, but if you want me to speak with him, I can. It may be useful to learn the current situation and give a report to my people when I wake them.
It's
So
possible.
I might ask him as many questions as he asks me.
And also, I'd like to ask him, do you think we have enough food for his people and our people?
He looks over. Do you point to where? Did you point out where like your
Yeah, the
storage
farm.
cache is and all that stuff?
Yeah.
He looks
But-
over and he says, "Well, it will do us for a little while at least." He's thinking, perhaps we could send out search parties to bring back anything. And he looks over to where the farms used to be, and he sees that you do have something started there. And he says, well, with that as well, we will need more, that's for sure. So it seems as though, and he looks over and he sees that you planted some of the spider fruit trees, which for everybody else's sake, I discussed it with him during the intermediating time. He found out that those trees that look like the fruit spiders, the spiders that look like fruit with the nearly invisible legs, Thrain and you would know what those are. So those spiders, there's fruit trees that have fruit on them that are very similar, and he sees that some of them are planted nearby, and he says, yes, I'm surprised we didn't think to do that ourselves.
Also,
I mean, food that looks like bugs. Yeah.
Well, it's a pretty decently sweet fruit. It's just that it looks like what a spider that looks like from around here.
it's more like it's less of a fruit that looks like a spider and more of a spider that looks like a fruit, and that's how it gets its prey,
Pretty
basically.
much.
Do they live on those trees?
They live on various trees, but they look like the fruit. So then people go near the fruit, and then it drops down on them. That's how it hunts.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
So
We definitely need to find a more powerful druid. That would be so helpful.
he looks over to you, and if you were saying that, if you were in earshot,
I wasn't in earshot. I was just like on my way down to the coal pit. I was like looking down at the farm area. I'm like, dang.
Yeah. So he's just thinking that perhaps there might be a little bit of time where things will be tight, but he seems to be in good spirits about it. So he doesn't seem like he's thinking that you guys will all starve or something like that. So
Yeah. And one more thing was, does he think his people could live among us?
he thinks to himself and he says, well, I don't want to seem rude or anything, but our people will probably live in the temple itself if you guys don't mind.
That'd be fine.
Yes, we don't like mixing with the other races very much.
So maybe I'll have to talk with them and get them ready for this transition.
By the way, Jaden's not a human, right? What race are you again?
Yeah, I'm human.
Oh, you are?
He is human.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is why he's
half elf or something.
Yeah, if he wasn't human, this guy wouldn't be warming up to him so much.
Okay.
That's a for sure thing.
So Howler was here.
Yeah, if Howler was here, then he would be sort of avoiding him a little bit, probably. But he's not here at the moment. So he's fine with Jaden. So do you wish to aid him in waking up the rest of his kin, or?
Yeah, I'll strike a deal though. They need to help us with the farm if they're gonna get food.
Well, we'll do as much as we can, as you can see, and he sort of motions over himself that he's not walking very well.
Wouldn't it be better to use them as healers?
Well, we can do some healing, and he looks over the encampment, and he notices that there are a few injured, and he says, well, we could do our best, but I don't have my orb anymore.
You
I
mean
assume
this?
that's stolen by now.
And take it out of my pocket. Say, is this what you're looking for?
He goes, and he says, I'm surprised no one's stolen it.
Yeah, they have. I have it right here.
He'll take it from you if you'll let him.
I think you would have more use out of it, as I don't know any healing magic.
He nods. Yes, that is how this object works, unfortunately. And he sort of just holds it in his hand, and then he looks on his cloak, and he finds a pouch, and he puts it in. So he'll hold on to that, but if you really need it, he'll probably give it to you. He seems like he won't be like that kind of mean guy to say no, that you can't have it, but he'll take it for now.
Okay, so I think we should make a deal that they help with healing.
They help with
And
something. Yeah, they have to help.
yeah,
He nods and he says, yes, I do understand. We will help as much as we can.
and yeah, it'll take you a while to get on your feet, but we are lacking on food, and we already have deals with other people to give them food as well.
We did have a protocol for if we stayed in stasis too long, training regimen. We will get back on our feet fairly quickly. Don't worry too much about that, but for the beginning stages, we won't be at our best, needless to say.
Okay. I think it's best that we introduce him and then tell people what's going on, and then we can wake people up.
He nods and he says, we also do understand that we have been asleep for quite a while, so the order of things, we don't expect to be on the top of the food chain anymore, so to speak. So we will take our lesser role. We may, if you guys offer, take a more leadership role later, but that is completely up to you guys.
Okay. So
Though, as it seems, you don't appreciate some of my opinions, so we may not get back into our leadership role ever again.
we'll see in time.
Okay, fair enough.
If we can clear this darkness, then you'll have your temple back.
Yes, I assume everybody else has homes that are far away from here. We might want to get this place up and running again, so we might rule this area, assuming we do well. But that's all up to you.
Okay.
So you'll go and introduce him to the archaeologist, and the archaeologist will be extremely interested to speak with him whenever he can, but he understands he just woke up, so he's not going to be too prodding, although you can tell that he's almost can't control himself in asking questions. Like, sort of like in Mass Effect when that that guy, can't remember his name, the alien guy that was in the stasis pod for a really long time, and then the blue alien girl wants to interview him all the time, but he doesn't care. That sort of thing.
Yeah. He's a huge Mass
If you
Effect player. And I
if
hate
you
the
know what
fact
I'm
that I can't remember their names even now. I used to know every character in that game's name.
Jarvik or something like that.
It was
Anyway,
Javik, I think.
yeah. So if you know who I'm talking about, it's sort of like that situation.
Promethean.
So for an hour or two, he can be getting used to everybody, so that way he can sort of be the leadership role for the rest of the people that wake up. So that way he can sort of brief them on what's going on, that sort of thing. So he'll.
I'm taking it Yeah, I'm taking it. I finished the memorial for the Cobalt in that amount of time.
Yeah, in a few hours, yeah, you can do that. You see the other memorial, which is just made out of rubble stone, and it's got an X over it, sort of thing, over it to mark it. So if you want to make a modern memorial, you can, but you can make one of your choosing if you wish.
I'm going to
Doesn't
make
really
a very
matter.
elaborate. I am going to find some stone and start kind of chipping it down and making it better and make a more elaborate one.
All right, that's fine, but you wouldn't be able to completely finish it, but you can bury the skeleton and you can sort of start putting something on top of it, but it won't be complete
Yeah,
yet.
it won't
If you
be
if
complete
you're
yet.
going
I'm
for
going to
something
work on it.
intricate, if you're going
I
for
will.
something
I'll
intricate,
probably work on it. It's already rotted the body, so I don't really need to worry about covering it up quicker. So yeah, I'll probably take my time on this. But after 2 hours, I'll be like, okay, that's enough for today. And I'll come back, and then I go back and meet up with Jaden and the High Priest.
all right, fair enough. Yeah, so the body is underground, just so that way you don't scare people or that sort of thing. But that's fine. So at this point, do you wish to wake them up? So he's been like conversing with this archaeologist guy. He's been keeping his distance because he's a dwarf. So you can easily tell that he's slightly off put by it, sort of like again like your racist grandfather, that sort of thing.
We may
So
have to
he's
warn him about that. The dwarf. He was a dwarf, the archaeologist.
yeah he's fine talking with him. It's just that he's sort of like
He's a little more distant.
yeah. So he's just sort of like yeah. He's just sort of taking them as he would have back then, which is used them as like trading partners and those sorts of things. Like they were really against mixing of the races and that sort of thing. So yeah, he's just sort of keeping his distance a little bit. But you do know that some of the people that were in the beds, like, were half elven or things like that, but uh, not very often they would be able to get to join. They would have to go through like cleansing rituals and those sorts of things. So, and some of them involve like draining blood to get rid of the curse within, those sorts of things, sorts of rituals. So,
I'd also like, while he's introducing himself and stuff like that, I can't remember, are the Lehman vegetarian, or do they eat meat as well?
they can eat fruit. They're just sort of like monkeys, so they can eat fruit and
Okay.
plants and things. So,
So I'm going to ask if the Lehman can send out a party to forage, and ask if the doppelgangers can send out a hunting party,
all right.
just to make up a little bit of food so that we can give it to the people in
All
good
right,
faith.
so since you have larger population, they will understand that they can't just sit around or do something else. They'll be fine in switching gears for a little bit.
Hmm.
So they'll be fine doing that. And the
Okay.
Leman especially are familiar with this terrain, so they'll be fine.
All right. Then when it's time, I'll just help recuperate everybody, awaken everybody, whatever it is.
All right, so are you two going together to do that when that happens?
Sure.
All right, fair enough. So Thrain can also.
I've met up with them at this point, yeah.
All right, fair enough. So they go back in, and you start waking the individual people up, and they sort of have to calm them down a little bit, like from their coughing fits and those sorts of things. And then,
It's a shame we don't have coffee anymore.
yes, it's surely a shame. That's the high priest talking, and he says, "Perhaps we will, when we get better, forage and see if we can find some trees or the similar equivalent."
Coffee bean trees. Yeah.
Yep.
I just
So,
unofficially added coffee to this world. It's so great.
yeah, he's fine. I'm fine with it. Adding it, it's fine. But it's sort of an end of the world situation, so it's on the back burner at the moment to find that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they know what to look for in this area that would give you that sort of thing. But nobody else really does know in this area very well. So,
It's a lot. Brewing coffee has become a lost art.
well, yeah, this is the only rainforest on this planet. So when people moved away, perhaps they stopped making it.
Eh,
So,
I go to the priest. That could be, if we can forget our coffee brewing business back up, that could be a great source of income. Trade.
he nods and says, "Yeah, if everybody else has stopped making it, I'm not familiar with the times, but we could try. Though we are far separated, so might take a little bit of time to get from here to there, but we'll see."
Yeah, but like train routes and stuff, that definitely seems like a possibility for people once this darkness goes away.
I always liked your optimism.
Yay. It's good to have
So,
some sort of your. It's good to have your own light, and when the world has gone completely dark.
fair analogy, I would say. So, you guys start waking everybody up, and among them there is a single dwarf and two half elves that that are still with them and are in the stasis. So there was a dwarf among them, but they tend to be ostracized unless they go through the cleansing rituals. So since he's been through the cleansing ritual, he's treating him like anybody, like any other human or anything. So
It's like once they've been indoctrinated, basically.
yeah, pretty much.
You're,
Then you're good. So yeah, pretty much. So everybody is awake, although they are pretty weak, and each one of them needs like a little bit of resting time to recuperate. They each turn off their own beds, and as they do, there was the square box. I don't know if you, Jaden, you remember this, but there was a square coffin-shaped box.
Yeah, I remember that.
Some of them go up to it and they flip that open, and they work together to flip. That's where the batteries for the stasis beds are. So they gather the power from these powerful magical creatures and then store them in these batteries that are inside this coffin-shaped box, and then the batteries distribute the power as needed. So they flip that open and they check on that to see how that's working out. So, and they also explain that to you, that that's what this is for.
Hmm. Okay.
So you don't have to panic about this coffin-like box in the middle. Because the first time they encountered it, they thought that maybe there was an undead or something in it, so they left it alone. But
Okay.
it's just a battery box, that's all it is. Anyway, so is there anything in particular that you want, like, that you want them to look at, have a look at in the temple, or let them know, that sort of thing, before we move on?
Not me.
All right, I'll take that as a no, and let me see. So they go and check out the other floors, and they see that it's obviously run down and everything. So one of their minor priorities is to get everything back into shape within the temple, at least. Get everything fixed up, working, have possibly a functioning, get everything functioning properly. So like having chairs and like there were areas with wooden chairs and those sorts of things. So any areas that have like broken furniture, they want to get that all fixed up and everything. But that's like a minor priority for them at the moment. Let me see. And you tell them, this is something else that you may have forgotten. The guard station had a bunch of undead in it. You tell them about that. And they say that yes, this was there being undead in there is supposed to happen. If somebody kills off all the guards or something, like to try to take over the temple, there's an enchantment on that particular area that turns the guards into undead to protect the place. So that way, in an emergency, the guards will become undead and protect the place. But you took care of that anyway, so there's no need to worry about that anymore. The high priest also says that the guards were supposed to wake them up if it took too long. So the guards in that area, something must have happened to them. That's a minor thing that they might want to try to figure out what happened. But they may never be able to figure out what happened. It's too long ago. They may never be able to figure that out. Let me see. Yeah, so a few of them do go down into the lower praise and worship area, which is like the large open cathedral type spot at the bottom. And they see that the door is broken, and they're sort of disappointed about that, but what can you do? It's been 1,000 years, so they figured that it must have been broken at some point. But Thranen said that he might want to fix that at some point, so perhaps that will be fixed. So they're kind of disappointed about that, but they're also kind of worried about that because since the door is broken, things can come up from the Underdark at pretty much any point, and they're happy that you have guards there, but they would rather have the door sealed, so that way if like a monster tries to come up from the Underdark, then it won't be able to. That sort of thing. But they understand that you do also have dealings with people in the Underdark, so they're sort of understanding, but they wish that they could actually keep the door closed, sort of thing, and then when people need to go through, they open the door and close it. But they also explain to you about something else about the guard station, which is that that chair that you guys discovered, which has the stone tablets, and then when you press the button on the chair, then you can see different places within the temple. They explain that this is part of the guard station, that they could keep an eye on different places in the temple. Like 3 of them are for the jail cells. So it's basically like a security camera station, except for it's like magically powered, and you can see the 3 sets of cells.
Can
and
we
then
see
you can
the creatures inside the cells?
Oh, this is the jail area, not that place with the monsters.
Oh, I was just about
Yeah,
to say.
the monsters are sealed in like rooms, but you guys also have a jail, which is like 3 long hallways with cells on either side, and then at the end there's another cell at the end. So that was for law keeping, of course.
Are there any skeletons or anything in there for those cells?
No, it seems as though the doors were broken open, maybe, or opened at some point. They explain that there were prisoners there that they kept in the cells that were there for life, sort of thing. So they just sort of left them there when they went into stasis. But there's no skeletons or anything, and any evidence of people still being in those cells when. So somehow they must have gotten out. Perhaps that has something to do with the guards all being dead. You don't know. Because they weren't around when it happened, and neither were you, so nobody.
I was in the belly of a bubble creature.
Well, so you don't know. So the prisoners may have escaped at some point, or someone let them go. You don't know. That was about 1,000 years ago. So let me see. That is about it for the information that they can give you that you don't already know. So yeah, they sort of are exploring and that sort of thing, and they give you the information as they've been exploring, just to let you guys know, so that way you can more easily utilize this thing. Oh wait, so 3 of the cameras were pointed at the sets of cells, and the last one was pointed at the tunnel to go down into the Underdark. So that was sort of their thing. Like, someone would knock at the door, and then they would look at the camera type magic thing, so that way they could see what's on the other side of the door. To see if they should let them up or not. So they can, some of them can easily be manning those stations if you wish. Some of those areas.
So now that you guys know what those are for, we might actually want to set up guards.
Yeah. So you can have like a guard, you can have people in the guard station if you wish. But you also do know that if any guards are killed within the guard station, they will be resurrected as zombies with specific orders. And the zombies' orders are as follows. Any non-human should be expelled from the area and terminated. And any members of the followers of the Thraxian, so they would recognize the outfit, should be especially protected. All other humans are to be ignored. Those are the orders that the undead have when they are killed.
I would look at the high priest. Shouldn't that be edited? Because I mean, there are races, other races sometimes allowed into the cult. And I point at the dwarf guy over there.
Yes, that is covered under the protocol of any members of the cult.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because then there's also, I would imagine sometimes it might conflict, because this one says any non-human.
Yes, it is a very extreme protocol, but we decided on that because the lower race risings in our city, and perhaps we were a bit too judgmental of them, but that is all in the past at this point. We decided that if there were to be an emergency that would kill all the guards, killing off a few civilian other races would be a reasonable sacrifice to cut down any rebels that were fighting us.
Fair enough.
So, yes, any non-humans within the area would be killed by these the undead, but they would ignore any humans and protect specifically any members of the cult. You can try to get those edited, but you would need someone who could actually do that with those magical skills to edit those sorts of things. And it would probably take you quite a while to get that enchanted. So you would need someone with the skills, first of all, and someone with the time and
skills.
resources, those sorts of things.
Yeah, I just don't see us putting people into the guard station though.
He nods and says, That's fine, but if you ever decided to use it, just be aware that if anybody dies in there, they will be undead."
We do have our own necromancer though.
Hmm. Yes, I did notice some of those undead patrolling around. I figured that perhaps some of them were the guards. And you do remember that one of the guards was unable to move, and the necromancer approached it and converted it over to him, basically. So, yes, one of them is one of the people that used to be a guard at this place.
Okay.
But either way, yes, they just wanted you to be aware of some of the functions of this place, so that way you don't run into a situation like what happened before with the undead pouring out of the guard station and attacking people. So, yeah. And he also explains that, I almost forgot about this, that the barrier that you guys deactivated, you guys did find the switch to turn that off, which is why the undead did end up pouring out of there. The switch was meant to protect, like they would get, like the head priest, if he was trying to be assassinated, they would get him into that room and then turn the barrier on. So that might also be a partial hint of what might have happened back then. So they somehow that got turned on, and the people in there were dead, apparently. So a theory that the high priest says is perhaps they poisoned the guard and then turned on the barrier to prevent them from escaping, and then freed all the captives. But we were asleep at the time, so oh well. The prisoners are free.
Probably consumed by darkness at this point.
Their descendants are probably consumed, but I'm not sure what we can do. You guys have explored out there, correct?
Yeah, we were able to destroy part of the wall in different sections.
Yes. And you can liberate people from the shadow, as I understand.
Yep, that's right.
Killing them.
It's a very interesting phenomenon, to be sure. But if there's any hope left, that's our hope, is to convert them back. But either way, if you do plan on ever putting anybody in the guard station, just be wary of its functions.
Okay.
And make sure that you don't turn on the barrier unless if you need it to be turned on. You may become trapped inside.
You know what? It might be better if we just destroy the switch and keep it from turning on.
Well, that is up to you guys. Though, if we are left to our own devices, we will probably reinstate it, because we do have proper protocols for that sort of situation.
Understandable. Anyway, I'm gonna actually, because hearing about all that necromancer, powerful enough to make undead, right? I'm gonna
Yes.
leave,
Yeah,
dig up the little cobalt skeleton. I have an idea, and I'm gonna go find the necromancer.
all right, fair enough. You're going to give up on your memorial, that's fine. So you can do that. Let me see.
I have a better memorial in plans.
All right, so the necromancer sees you carrying a cobalt skeleton before you even know where he is. So he walks over and he sort of like puts his hand on your shoulder.
Oh, hello. I was wondering, you're powerful enough to make him dead, right?
Can I use that?
I was going to actually ask if you could animate it.
He says, yes, I could do something with that. I saw you walking with it. I figured I'd ask if I could use it.
Here you go.
Yeah, and you notice that he has a metal jaw that's just sort of hanging loosely, but you can still understand everything he's saying, even without his bottom jaw.
I figured we could have a little dragon guy skeleton running around. As long as you can control it, that is. Or I could control it. That would be pretty cool.
I have a feeling I can control skeletons. Yes, I'm very confident in that. So he sort of motions for you to place it in front of him.
I do. There you go.
All right. So he just takes out his book that floats in front of him, and the page flips automatically to the page that he wants, and he reads it over, and he says his incantations over the skeleton, and the bones shake, and then like basically just like the foot bones stay straight, and then everything falls up into it, basically is the best way to describe it, and it just stands straight.
Oh, I need to learn to do that.
Well, if you're and he looks over you, and he says, well, you do seem to have the aptitude for magic. If you're willing to learn, that is, perhaps I will have to find you a wizard's book, of course.
I can already cast a little bit of magic, just from being what I am.
Just being what you are. So.
As Warforged tactician, they get guidance as a cantrip.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, he says that if you're willing to learn how to cast magic, you can possibly learn from him. And if you wish to take the necromancer school, he'll be especially helpful.
You know what? That might be interesting.
Well, it's up to you how you level up your character. So whenever you gain a level, you can decide what you want
to. It's a wizard.
You can decide whatever it is you wish, but that's up to you. So
I've already basically gotten what I wanted from fighters, so 2 attacks and gunslinging and stuff. So, and action surge is always nice.
All right, well, that's up to you. So he offers, and if you wish, you can take him up on that offer. But
I'll definitely think about it.
And he walks over to the skeleton, and he says, I'm going to attempt to make this into a zombie. If you wish to watch, you can.
I stay, yeah, why not? Let's see this.
All right, so well, I'll explain what he basically does for the next little while, and then we'll throw over to Jaden, so that way he can have a chance to do something in this time. So basically what he does is he takes his finger and he scratches on his chest, and you see that underneath his chest it looks really yucky and stuff, and he has like this clay-like substance covering himself, and he sort of just scratches on that, and then he starts applying it like clay on the skeleton, and the stuff that's on him, it reforms back so that way it looks like he has skin again. And he starts applying it, and then he scratches again and starts applying it again.
That's interesting.
And ask him about it if you wish.
What is that?
He says, it's the reason Howler wishes to avoid me. It's a disease, technically, but for necromancers, it's especially helpful. You can sculpt flesh out of it.
Huh.
It's a disease called necromancer's clay. And as he explains it to you...
Is it contagious?
Yes, it's very contagious. he sculpts. He explains that he can like sculpt things like hearts, which he can. If you kill a creature, you can take this heart and put it in the creature, and it will reanimate it for you.
Can I ask, why is that considered a disease? Will it kill you someday, or does it just make you horrible looking?
It just makes me very, very disgusting looking, but it does have the added benefit of making flesh appear over it. So you can just scrape it off and it acts like clay. You can just apply it to something and it regrows flesh.
I was just about to say, in my opinion, that's more useful than it is a curse or a disease.
Yes, well, the downside is that if someone attempts to poison your food, it is especially effective.
I'm pretty resistant to poison.
Yeah, so
And
he
disease.
explains that you become especially poison does double damage if you have this disease. So
Basically, with me, since I would probably just lose my resistance to poison.
you would just lose
Yeah,
your
okay.
resistance if you had it. If you can get it, you don't know if you can even get diseases.
I was just about to say, I'm not even sure if I could get diseases as a Warforge.
Well, you can experiment with it. You said that you might want to experiment with the monk later, but that's up to you. You can decide. So,
That's a good thing. Yeah, let's go hop over back though, because that's pretty much what I'm going to probably get from this necromancer.
all right.
Let's hop back over to Jade.
All right. Well, just for the last thing, eventually he applies the stuff all over the skeleton, and it looks very strange. It has like human-esque skin, but it has like the dragon snout and everything. So it looks quite odd. It doesn't have scales or anything because he's using this clay to apply to it. So
OG. It's an OG kobold when they were dog people, not dragon people.
yeah, so it looks kind of strange. It looks like it has human skin. So it doesn't regrow the scales or anything. He just applies this stuff and it looks better than a skeleton, but it still looks kind of creepy. Okay, so we'll move over to Jaden.
I don't know what I'm doing.
All right. Well, is there anything that you would like to do during the time that he's just sort of watching this necromancer play with his newfound toy?
I don't know. I mean, I'd probably go out hunting or something like that. Like,
I do
that'd be like
have stuff that you can do.
Oh yeah, what's that?
If you wish.
Yeah.
There is a few things that you can check on that you haven't checked on in a while. Baston.
Yeah.
I haven't checked on Baston in a while.
Yeah, I'll check that guy out. That's another thing that I was thinking about.
And there's the what's it called? The succubus incubus that you haven't seen, but she has been liberated, so they must be somewhere around here. So those are a few things that you can look into if you wish.
Yeah, I'll go to Baston.
All right. So as you're going up to Baston, you actually notice that you see that it's almost exactly as you left him. There's two guards standing next to both sides of his cell. Although he seems to be conscious at the moment, he seems to be sitting up. Nobody called you or anything, so it seems like maybe there's no news about him. So he is conscious, but he's not saying anything, perhaps. Maybe you can ask him. But before I let you just go on, let me see. So his weapons are just sort of leaning on the cell next to his, which is two very large lances. he was dual wielding them in the fight, if you remember. And you also notice that, let me see, that the succubus, incubus thing, it's sitting in one of the cells across from him.
Hmm.
It can change from being male and female at will, so it's hard to distinguish whether I should use he or she. But at the moment, it is in its male form. It's just
So,
sitting there.
do I know Baston's name, or does my character know?
Yes, you do know because the archaeologist was familiar with him.
Yeah, okay. So, I'll ask him if he remembers anything,
All right,
or
so
if
do you
see if he
go in the
responds.
cell, or are you just asking outside the cell?
I'll just ask from outside the cell.
All right, so he's just sort of sitting there staring off in the distance, and the only thing he's wearing right now is his armor padding, because that was the only thing that you left him with. So he just has his armor padding on, and he's just sort of sitting, looking forward, and he doesn't respond.
Okay. So I will go up to the other cell.
All right, fair enough. The incubus at this point is just sort of like sitting like this in the cell.
I'll say, so what landed you in here?
Well, they didn't take too kindly to me with my wings, and they sort of gesture to their wings, which are folded next to them. And they're just sort of sitting like this. Well, I tried to earn their trust by volunteering to come in here, so still working on that.
Perhaps I'll talk to someone, see if we can put you to work.
I volunteered to do some scouting, but they didn't like that I was demonic.
Yeah, I'll talk to people, see if we can get you out of here.
Oh, I'd appreciate it.
And
They just
have
sort of
they-
seem calm, and they say, just if you're going to leave or anything, or unless
Yeah.
you have anything to ask.
I'll ask the guards if anything's been happening, or if it's just all normal.
The roguish type guards are just standing there, and as you ask them, one of them just turns over and says, "Nothing to report."
Okay. I want to ask the guards where they're from. If they're from the Palazzo di Montagna or something like that.
Palazzo della Montagna.
Yeah.
I practiced it. So, yes, that's the city where the headquarters of the Thieves Guild is. And yes, they all seem to be from there.
Okay. I was just curious.
Which the place that Jaden is from is relatively close to there, so he would know of the place at least.
Yeah.
Whether or not he went there is completely up to you.
Yeah, probably not. They'll stay in the same spot. Okay. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
All right. Well, as you're about to leave, the incubus says, "What's up with that guy?"
Yeah. He was kind of under the shadow's influence, but also not. He attacked us, along with some others. We don't know exactly how they did it without looking like a shadow creature, as you've seen.
Interesting. I tried to talk to him a few times. It seems like I have a pretty good. I can read people fairly well. I don't know if you know that about my kind of people. It seems as though he doesn't want to talk with those guys around. Might be helpful.
Okay. So I'll take your advice, and I'll tell the guards just to wait outside the temple, and I'll call them back.
The incubus just sort of goes back to his resting position like this. With his legs are out in front of him. He's sitting on a bed. So he's
Yeah.
just sort of comfortably sitting in there. Seems as though he's familiar with this sort of environment, you may say. And if you dismiss the guards will they'll stand outside the front door
Yeah.
that leads to the outside,
Hmm.
and the man, Baston, he just sits there and he says, "The creature can read me pretty well, huh?"
Yeah. I suppose so. If you're talking.
He gets up and he looks. Oh, he comes up to the bars and he just rests his arms on the bars and he sort of sticks his face in between the bars and he says, "Where's my holy symbol?"
What did it look like?
He describes the traditional Senna symbol, which is just like a bird with its wings outstretched looking up.
See, was that like on the armor? Or was that on...
You didn't see a holy symbol.
Okay, I didn't see it. I haven't seen one.
Fine. And he goes back to the back wall and he just leans against it and he says, "I won't say anything then."
Okay. Well, maybe if I find it sometime, I'll bring it to you. But why do you need it? That's the first thing.
He just looks at you and he seems kind of tight-lipped.
Okay. Well, you're not going to get it unless I know what you need it for. When I do find it.
He seemed like he was going to say something, but he just doesn't.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll come back some other time. I'll go and get the guards.
The incubus gets up from the bed and he gets close to the bars and he's sort of like, you can hear him, so you turn around and he's motioning you over.
Okay, I'll go up to him.
He says, "Just give him a holy symbol. It doesn't matter if it's his."
It's true. So I'll go out and look for a holy symbol.
All right, fair enough. There are people who have holy symbols that you don't know if they're like what a paladin might use or a cleric or anything like that might use, but they look similar enough.
I'll ask if I can use it.
So the random civilian that you approach that's a worshiper of Senna, which is pretty common, they just have a necklace on and they say, "What? It's for my prayers. Are you going to give it back or do you need it?"
I don't know.
They say, "Well, if I come with you and I see what it's for, then perhaps I'll give it."
Yes, that's fine.
So they'll follow you.
Okay, lead him back.
All right. So he has a holy symbol. This is a man. He has a holy symbol on, and when you approach the cell with the guy in it, he recognizes the guy, and he's like, "Are you sure this is safe?"
I don't know. What can you tell me about it? I know very little about this.
Yeah. So the man
Classic D&D moment.
the civilian, he's like, "That's not very reassuring." And Baston is in the cell, and he's like, "Let me see." And the civilian just tentatively approaches, and he just puts the symbol in the cell. And then the man, or Baston, he approaches, and he puts his hand on it, and then he sort of looks at it, and he's sort of slow. Actually, I'm going to get you to make a perception check. Oh, wow. Well, you do definitely notice this. He seems to be slowly, very, very slowly, almost so that way you hardly notice it, but since you're keeping an eye close on the symbol itself, he seems to be slowly pulling it towards him. You're not sure why he's doing it slowly or anything like that, but he seems to be slowly pulling it towards him. He's just staring at it intensely.
Can I tell if he's doing anything magical?
No, you can't tell if he's doing anything, like casting a spell or anything. It doesn't look like he's doing that.
Okay.
Let's see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah.
All right, so if you wait a little bit longer,
I'm gonna open the cell to the succubus or incubus and just tell him to be on guard. Just
all
back
right,
me up.
so one of the
Jason.
guards quickly comes in and unlocks it for you because you have to pick the lock because you guys don't have keys to the locks. So he quickly picks the lock for you and opens it and then leaves. And then the incubus comes out and he just stands close by.
Okay.
As you said. So Baston, he's just looking at the symbol. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said making that poor civilian completely nervous now. He's standing next to a demon.
Yeah. Well, they saved the demon, and the demon fought on their side for a little while, so they have reason to trust him, I suppose.
I just want to say, trusting a demon is always a bad idea, but go on.
All right. Well, the demon it's not like just flying away to escape or anything. It seems to know that this is a pretty bad situation, like the shadow and everything. So it's just standing next to you, waiting to see what happens.
So I'll ask Baston what he needs the symbol for.
He doesn't answer you. He's not even looking at you. He's just looking at the symbol. And he's slowly pulling it closer to him. And the man that had the symbol around his neck is slowly getting pulled into it, like sort of thing.
Okay, so I'll kind of take my hands around the chain and kind of yank him back because I don't want him to get strangled by this.
All right. So you pull the chain back, and he sort of goes back, and he looks up at you, and he says, "I need it."
For what?
He doesn't answer you.
Then you're not getting a symbol.
He looks angrily, and he still has it in his fingers. And then he, let me see. Let's roll initiative, just so that way we make sure that everything happens in order. So just give me an initiative roll.
Is this safe? I don't know. Let's do it anyway. Roll initiative.
Well, nothing bad has happened yet, but I just want to be able to order things in case Jaden wants to stop it. So
okay, good.
Okay. His initiative, I'll give him +2. And his initiative. Wow, so he's faster than you at the moment. So Baston, he is going to use his turn to quickly pull up like this to get the chain off the guy's neck, and then pull it back and try to get in. Let me see. He's going to make a dexterity check to do that, to see if he can get it around the guy's head before you can do anything. Let me see. His dexterity, I'll give him 2 at this point. Yeah, he definitely manages to get that around the guy's neck and over his head. Like he sort of pushes his hand through the bar and then lifts up, so that way the chain goes up and around the guy's head, and then he backs up into the cell. And he's just looking at it now. So now it's your turn.
Okay, I'm gonna yell for keys and yell for the other one to send for help.
All right, so one of the guards is booking it.
And get the civilian out of there as well.
All right,
tell him to get out.
All right, the civilian, he's not hesitating. He's running at this point. The the incubus, he has his phallic horn drawn, so it seems like he was prepared for this. And the
Question: how close is this happening to where I would be?
you would be he doesn't right that he doesn't have a map of the camp. You are
Yeah.
yeah, I made a map of the camp. I'll get that to you later.
I'm talking to the necromancer dude still.
Yeah, you're talking to him, and he's quite far away, we'll say, for now. But if you had a map, I would tell you exactly where, but for now, you're quite far away. But you would be able to see it if you were looking that way, but you're quite far away.
Frayne will finally show up.
Yeah, maybe in 10 turns if you notice it. If I'll say that you can notice it if you wish, so that's up to you if you wish to notice it.
I'm gonna say, like, because there's like commotion coming from down there, and I'm imagining if people are the villagers probably freaking out. Maybe Frayne would make a perception check and see, but we'll get to that after the first round.
All right, fair enough. So the guard, this is part of the first turn. So the guard comes in, and he makes it to the door, but he's fumbling with the thieves' tools. He's not got the door open yet.
Okay.
So for the second turn, this guy he's got the holy symbol, and he puts it under his mouth, and as soon as he does, his eyes glaze over white, and a bunch of black goop starts coming out of his mouth and pouring onto the symbol. That's what we got for this turn. So that's his turn. So you're waiting on the guard to pick the lock. Let me see. The guard. He's decent at lock picking, so we'll give him a 4. He manages to get the door open, and I'll say that you can go after him.
Okay.
All right. So he's got the door open, and you see in the cell this guy. His eyes are glazed over white, and they're sort of glowing a little bit, like the shadow people do, and black gunk is spewing out of his mouth onto this holy symbol.
Okay, I'm going to I'm going to cast magic missile on the symbol. See if I can break it.
All right, so magic missile automatically hits, but for this, I'm going to get you to make, since it's such a small target,
yeah,
you're technically aiming for him, and you're aiming for a particular spot on him. So I'm going to say, give me an Arcana roll.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens. That's decent for you. Yeah, you can just barely hit his arm. You hit his arm, so it knocks the holy symbol from him, but he seems to be still trying to, he moves his head towards where it is to try to get this black gunk all over it.
Then I'm going to rush at him and try and shove him with my shield as a bonus action.
All right, fair enough. So that's a contested roll, if I remember.
Yep. Good luck.
Athletics.
I guess he's also strength based. If I remember correctly.
He's both dex and strength based, so because he has to be dex in order to wield two-handed weapons. So let me see.
And he can use either roll.
Yeah. All right. So he gets a plus. No, not plus that. There we go. So he gets shoved to the ground.
Yep.
And he seems to be like convulsing and spewing this black stuff up at you. Even though, did you want him like away 10 feet or on the ground?
Away 10 feet.
All right, so he gets knocked onto the bed, and he's sort of like convulsing on the bed, and this black gunk is spewing out of him.
And I think that's my turn.
All right, so he is. This turn, he is convulsing on the bed.
By the way, I have a passive perception. My passive perception or passive wisdom perception is 20. So, yeah, I probably see something going on.
Yeah, you saw it. You would have seen it. So
Okay, I
you can be.
start mad dashing it towards the whatever.
All right, so specifically, this is what you see, just so that way you have context for what you're seeing to rush over. You see a man, one of the civilian people. He's a human, and he's sort of like tripping over himself trying to get out of that door, and he's sort of making it not being quiet about it. And you see a guard rushing into the door.
Rushing. So I see a guard like go on the alert, rush in, and then I see a civilian. Okay,
Yeah, like
first I see the
stumbling
civilian.
over himself trying to get away.
First I see the civilian, and then I see a guard just rush in. I'm like, mad dash.
All right, fair enough. So just so that way you have context for what you saw. So
I move 60 feet towards the guard place.
all right, fair enough.
Jail.
It'll take you a couple turns to get there. So if anything else major happens, you might be able to get there in time for it. But at the moment, you're not there. So we'll go back to the man, and like I said, he's convulsing on the bed.
Okay.
And black stuff is spewing all over the place.
All right.
Almost
So-
exorcist in manner.
All right. So do I
Spewing.
react to this or?
Yeah,
So what
yeah.
you're
now it's your turn.
All right.
The guard
I'm
and the
going-
incubus are just sort of keeping the door so that way, in case he somehow comes out.
Yeah.
So they're just holding the door.
Okay. I'm going to pull out the glowing orb.
All right, fair enough.
And I'm going to ask it if it can help me purify this darkness that's spewing out.
It glows softly once, and then it seems to be indicating, like, put it closer to him, sort of
Okay.
thing.
So that's what I'll do.
All right, so there's no way it could communicate put it closer, but I'm
Yeah.
giving you that hint anyway.
But it said yes, so I'm going to react to that.
All right, fair enough. And you put it close to him, and as you do, let me see, what can I do for this? I'll make him make a Constitution check because there's something within him. He seems to be in pain when the thing gets close to him, and more stuff starts spewing out of him.
Okay. I'm going to try and amplify the orb by casting light through it.
All right, fair enough. The orb glows a lot brighter, and now, Thranen, you see coming out of the door, like the door that you're rushing towards, you see this bright light. Yeah, bright light coming out of the doorway. So, yeah, and he is convulsing a little bit, and this black stuff is spewing everywhere, but when it hits where the orb's radius is, like, the radius is small, but it's at this point, like, it's not as big as it was when you say we're trying to go through the wall. It's like it's exerting less energy or something. So once it hits the radius, it like goes onto the light and it stops, and then it sizzles a bit and then disappears. It dissipates. So he's just convulsing wildly at this point. And there's black stuff spewing everywhere in the room.
All right.
So it's back to your turn. The guards are holding the doorway.
All right. I'll just continue with the orb.
All right, fair enough.
Every turn, I'm of course moving 60 feet closer.
Yes, I assume so. That's why I was just going to the next turn. So I'd say that Thranen is at this bottom of the steps at the bottom of the pyramid. Which is, the temple's a pyramid, just so that way you don't get confused.
It's kind of like a Mayan temple.
Sort of like a Mayan temple with the different levels up.
Yeah.
All right, so you're at the bottom of the stairway and you're coming up, and this is on the 3rd floor, so it's on the middle layer of the temple. So you have to get up there still. So
Probably have 2 more turns before I'm even in there. Okay.
you'll be at the door next turn, for sure. I'll say. All right, so the man is convulsing, and let me see what happens with this turn. Okay, so at this point he has spewed a lot of stuff and he's still convulsing, but no more black stuff is coming out. But if you like moved the orb to the side or whatever to where the walls where the black stuff is or whatever, it sort of like sears and burns it off, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just let you know that. And at the moment, he's just sort of limp. At the end of this, like he keeps convulsing for a few seconds, not spewing anything, and then he goes limp at the end of it.
Okay, so I can assume that it's over, pretty much.
Well, you can assume whatever you wish.
All right.
I'll say that much.
I'm gonna keep the orb in one hand, and just move it closer, and then I'm gonna try and see if he's still breathing.
When you move it closer to him, he doesn't react. So you can again assume that perhaps the black stuff has spewed out of him.
I know.
Let's see.
Oh, there you go.
He doesn't. He seems to be alive. Like he's not dead or anything. He just had a severe seizure. It looks like from your basic medical expertise, you would automatically know that was a seizing of some sort. And he seems fine. It's just that the black stuff seems to be dripping down. Although you don't immediately notice a pattern, you'd have to take the rest of your turn to examine it to find any pattern.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right. Investigation. All right, so here's what you get. It seems like it's dripping down, and there's even stuff that was on the floor, and it seems to be moving closer to that holy symbol.
All right, I'm gonna take the holy symbol and get the orb closer to that seeping stuff.
All right, so as soon as you put it next to the holy symbol seems to hit the radius of this sphere that's around the orb, and it just sort of sticks on it, and it's like sizzling.
Okay.
So that's it for the turn at the moment. It's not done sizzling. It's just sizzling on the side of this radius of the orb. All right. So, Thranen, you are at the doorway. You can see that the orb is glowing brightly, and you see that there's the guard and this devilish creature that you've never seen before.
So basically, I walk in, and I'm walking into that scene in The Exorcist, the power of Christ compels you scene, basically.
Yeah, and the odd part is that you even see a demon standing in the middle of the hallway. This could turn out horribly. So you see a demon standing in the middle of the hallway, and Jaden is holding an orb over this guy that's in the cell, and there's black stuff all over the place.
I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
All right, Jaden, you can respond. You see Thranen at the doorway. He's completely confused.
Yeah, I'll say the people out there are okay. Get in here.
Do you listen to him?
I see shadows. I see demons and weirdness. Sounds just like my place. I walk in.
All right, so you're in the doorway, and that's the rest of your turn.
Yeah.
All right, so you don't have the chance to like shoot anything yet because you had to double move.
No, I'm just saying. I just get my gun ready.
All right, so
Keeping an eye on the demon.
all right, so you notice that the demon is holding like it looks almost like a silver or metallic horn of some sort that's curved like this, and it seems to be pointing at inside the cell. But so is the guard that's next to the demon. And you see Jaden's just holding.
Confused.
Yeah. So, like, you could be assuming things like a demon took over the guard and there's another demon there and they're trying to kill Jaden. Maybe, you don't know at this point. So, it's back to Baston's turn. So Baston, he is limply laying there, but on his turn, you see that the black stuff that was on the walls and on the floor, it seems to be like almost forming a pseudopod almost, and it seems like it's reaching out towards that holy symbol.
Okay. I'm going to try and stave it off with the orb, and I'm going to cast Burning Hands through it.
All right, fair enough. So when you cast Burning Hands through it, you get like the sphere turns from just being glowing bright to extreme flame all the way around the orb. It doesn't seem to be hurting you at all. Just so you're aware, like if you're in the radius and that, don't worry about that. It's not hurting you. And you sort of thrust it forward into this pseudopod, I would assume. You would thrust it forward towards it.
Yeah.
And you thrust it forward towards the pseudopod, and it just sort of flattens into the wall and sizzles and burns away. And then all the black stuff starts lighting on fire, but it doesn't seem like the fire is spreading past the black inky stuff, and it just burns up all the inky stuff. But the symbol seems to still be slightly coated in the inky stuff at the end of your turn.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go to Thrainen's turn, and the other guys are still just guarding at the door. So Thrainen.
Let's see. I see a demon, and then I see whatever the hell's going on in that room. I'm going to assume, because I just accidentally rolled a really good perception check, that the demon is at the moment on our side, and I'm going to go focus on what's going on in the room, and I'm going to walk in the room and ask Jane if he needs any help with anything.
All right, fair enough. So you see the walls and floors have a little bit of sparking fire on them, and the black stuff seems to be evaporating from it.
Jane, do you need any help, or do you got this covered?
Make sure that the guy on the bed doesn't run out of here.
Okay, I go over and I'm going to try and knock him out.
He appears like he's not moving or anything at the moment, but you can still hit him for good measure with a non-lethal attack if you wish.
1d20. Yeah, let's do it. I don't. Nope.
You're sort of wary of all this fire around you and everything, so you just sort of try to hit him. You try to hit him with your fist, but you end up hitting the wall instead. So
I'm just gonna sit there and watch him and cast. I guess that took my action, didn't it? I was gonna say I was gonna cast guidance on Jaden to give him some help.
don't you have 2 attacks?
Yeah.
So you could try to hit him again if you want.
Am I rolling this
Right.
right? I'm rolling it right. It's just the same thing again.
Yeah.
2
Yeah, it just
natural
says
ones, folks.
it just says roll 1d20 and it equals 1. So you rolled it correctly.
Hang on, I just realized I just had a minus there. There, I had a minus on the run d20. Did it say -1 now? Yeah, it does.
Nope.
Yeah, it had a minus. I wonder if that was affecting it.
I don't know. But it just says rolling 1d20. I don't know.
Yeah, it says load
I'll give you the
1d20.
17. I'll give you the 17 because I'm feeling a little bit generous since you got 2 ones in a row.
Okay.
So you managed to hit him.
Wrong there. Okay.
I'll let you
Imagine-
roll an unarmed attack, and it's a critical because he's.
Okay,
an
so
automatic
1d4.
critical.
Here we go.
All right.
So
So
4 damage, right?
it says 8 damage on my screen.
Oh yeah, but isn't it divided by 2 with unarmed strikes? Unless
No,
you're
unarmed strikes are 1d4.
okay then. Yeah, 8 damage. Bang
Yeah.
to the face.
All right, so it's non-lethal damage, I'll say, since you don't want to kill him. So it appears like he's out cold.
Yay! Okay, he's taken care of. I'll keep an eye on him.
All right, so he appears to be out cold, and he's just laying there. So we'll just skip to Jaden's turn again. The holy symbol is still covered in a little bit of the black stuff, if you wish to.
Okay, glowing orb.
All right, so it goes right onto the radius again, and it gets stuck there, and it burns and burns and burns, and then you manage to pull it through the radius, and then it seems like it's clean. It doesn't seem damaged or anything.
Okay. So
What just happened?
I think this man was possessed with some of the darkness. So
Is he done?
I
Do we
think
need
so.
Do we need to kill him to actually free him, like we did with everyone else? I raised my fist again, getting ready to.
They killed him before, so Jaden, you can just tell him that you did that before, and
Yeah,
it didn't seem to work.
Yeah. I'll ask the orb if it can sense any darkness on the symbol or on the man.
When you ask, like, you have to be very careful because it can only speak in yeses and nos.
Yes.
So you ask it specifically about the symbol, and then it flashes twice,
Okay.
which means no.
Mhm.
And then when you ask it about the man, it flashes 3 times in a row, which is something that you don't know what it
Yeah.
means.
Okay.
What? I asked the orb. What is that supposed to mean? Maybe.
Perhaps.
Does it blink once or twice?
If you ask it if it means maybe,
Yeah,
I thought you were just being out of character. But if you are asking it,
Does that mean maybe?
all right, fair enough. It says it flashes once.
So yes.
I didn't know it could say maybe.
Well, you didn't have it established, and it decided to do something that was different than the 2 things it already knows that you understand. So it decided to do something different.
I asked it, can you do more than yes, no, and maybe?
It flashes 3 times.
Damn it.
It depends on if you establish a Morse code or something with it. You could maybe establish something like that with it, but it doesn't
I'm gonna ask.
immediately know that.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna ask if I can borrow the orb from Jaden.
All right, so if you do pass it to him, do you pass it to him?
Yeah, I just say thank you to the orb for all the help that's helped.
All right, so you pass it to him, and when you do, the flames die down and all the glowing stops.
And I'll take the holy symbol and throw it out of the cell.
All right. It seems cleansed, if I can use that word in
Yeah.
this context. It doesn't have any of the black stuff on it anymore. You
Mhm.
think that if it wasn't, you wouldn't have been able to pull it through the radius.
Hmm.
So you think that it's cleansed, but you can do whatever you want with it. I'm not controlling your character in that way. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's probably cleansed.
Okay.
So, what did you wish to do with the orb, Thranen?
I'm just gonna start randomly speaking to it and trying to teach it stuff. Like you were just saying, try to teach it Morse code to speak to it better.
I mean, you could if you wanted to. You could teach it a code so that way you can actually
That's what I'm gonna
converse with
start
it.
trying. Yeah, I'm gonna let Jade know what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna kind of go off and start trying to teach a code of some
All right.
sort.
All right, so you can do that. So Brandon or Thranen walks off with the orb.
Okay.
So you're in the cell.
Okay. I'm gonna order the guards to watch out for anybody with symbols. There should be no symbols in this cell. And I'm gonna
All right.
take the symbol for myself.
And before I leave completely, by the way, what's the deal with that guy? I point to the incubus.
He freed him from the darkness, and he's helped us. But I don't think a lot of the people around here are used to him yet.
I look at him. Do you want something to do? You want to help me teach this orb code?
He sighs and he says, "Perhaps it might be more entertaining than sitting in a cell, as long as everybody doesn't lynch me."
I was going to go somewhere more private anyway. Yeah.
He looks over to Jaden and he says, "Is this okay?"
Yeah, that's fine with me. I'll tell people that you're a friend.
Look, and just so you can let everyone know, I'm not trying to make deals or anything with anybody at the moment. And I don't plan on fooling around with anybody in their sleep. That might be a concern.
This
Yeah,
isn't
was a
some
concern.
incubuses are less like aren't really like other demons anyway. They're more in control of themselves.
yeah,
They
and
actually they do sometimes go to the nine hells, which is almost unheard of for a demon.
but he seems to be also expressing that it's common for them to be known for sleeping with people in their sleep. So he's saying that he doesn't plan on doing that at the moment. Because they usually do that to propagate their species. So at the moment, he doesn't plan on mating with anybody.
You guys do know how vampires are really made, right?
Well, yeah.
That's actually something. If you the older editions of D&D, if a succubus really did fall in love with someone, that person that they fell in love with would become a. So that's just an interesting thing.
Yeah, well, in this universe, this weapon that he's holding, is a means of forcibly attacking people to impregnate them. So the weapon that he's currently holding is a weapon to forcibly impregnate people.
So the penetrator.
I called it the phallic horn.
Okay.
So he has a phallic horn in his hand.
Anyway, away! A succubus and a robot. Let's go. I mean, an incubus and a robot. Let's go teach this orb language.
Yeah. Well, he can switch back and forth from an incubus to a succubus. So.
You know what? What's your name? I ask it.
He doesn't seem like he's willing to share that information.
Okay, then. Do you have a nickname I can call you?
Well, some people have called me tits and ass, depending on my form.
Okay, I'm going to call you Horny Mike. Let's go.
He shrugs and goes. He actually as soon as he gets out the door, he hovers above you and with his wings.
Okay.
Although people may or may not be intimidated by that, but he's doing it anyway. Because he can move faster with his wings, so that's why he's doing it.
My cult would not approve of this.
Well, he's following you, so we'll say that you go off, and I'll give you progress if you want. You can teach it certain amounts of language if you wish at different points, and during downtime, like if you're traveling and those sorts of things, I can say that you're teaching it while you're traveling, those sorts of things if you want. So I'll give you a progress on that a little later. So Jaden, you are in the cell with Baston, and he appears to be unconscious at the moment.
Okay, I'll just tell the guards to keep it locked for now.
Alright, so you're stepping out of the cell, I assume.
Yeah.
Alright, so they lock it up for you, and one of the guards goes up and picks up the holy symbol, and he's like, "Should we give this back to the guy?"
Yeah, I'd say so. It seems to be cleansed.
He nods and says, "Right." And he just sort of quickly dashes off to try to find that guy to give it back.
And I'll say, the person who picked the lock, I'll say, good work.
He just sort of nods, and he goes back to his bouncer position, I'll call it, like with the arms crossed, just standing in front of the door. He heard you, so he's like, yeah, he's taking it, but he's just trying to be tough again, get back into position.
All right, so I'll go out and tell people that, or heavens for the news that the incubus isn't gonna mess with the people, and he's on our side.
All right, fair enough. So I'll give you a little bit of time to do that. I'll give you an hour, let's say. That's fine. There is quite a few people here. There's over a few hundred.
Tell people and then have them tell people.
All right, that's fair enough. Although some of them do ask you, like, if it's gonna, like, some of the questions that the incubus itself answered, like, is it gonna harm us in our sleep? Is it gonna infect our dreams? Like, all kinds of weird nonsense.
I said,
and I
say no to all that stuff. It promised that it wouldn't.
And they seem wary of it, but they weren't even wary of, like, they were initially scared of Rock Thrower, and they weren't really, like, apprehensive around the doppelgangers. But with this situation, they seem a little bit, the mood around demon flying around the camp seems to be a little off-putting to most of the people.
Yeah. I'll tell him that he's probably going to go to the scouts, with the scouts on their missions. So he won't be here all the time. So, yeah.
They nod, and eventually Mossbeard seemed like he was interested throughout those days. We'll say that he was interested in a flying companion, possibly, to be able to keep an eye from above, sort of thing. So Mossbeard would be willing to take them under his wing, so to speak. But knowing Mossbeard, he's fought a lot of evil things in his time, so he'll be very wary of it as well.
Yeah.
It will have to earn its way.
Yeah. I'll talk to him about it.
I won't be all that wary of it, though. Who's very open-minded and accepting of people.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say this as like a DM's note. The reason I even made this campaign was because of the idea of evil people always being at the throats of nicer people and like people who interact in that way. So I thought of a campaign where evil people and good people have to work together in this situation. So that's why.
Actually, I'm really liking it so far. Like, we're working with the Duragar, which was like really interesting coming into it, and then now now there's Horny Mike. I'm not.
Which the Incubus seems okay with it. You calling him whatever you want, so it doesn't matter.
And I'm gonna actually ask the Incubus. Hey, you can shapeshift, right?
Mildly.
Could you take like a form of like an animal?
No.
Okay, I was gonna ask if you could turn into like a fairy dragon or something. That's probably less scary.
Yeah, I can only change into people.
Huh.
Different male and female forms.
Could you change into another Warforge?
No. Unfortunately, you are not biological.
I'm too. Okay, I get it. I was like thinking maybe if you took a more friendly or like not because in my opinion this form isn't that intimidating, but it's because it's obvious what you are. Maybe if you took a form that made it to where people would be more comfortable around you, might be better.
I don't think that would go over too well, considering it would be like tricking people.
Okay, you got a point there. Yeah, maybe just stick it with your normal. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, the doppelgangers seem to be adopting a similar attitude.
You know what? Actually, now that I think about that, that's actually that's a really good point.
He nods. Though I don't mind switching from male to female, but I've chosen the male form for now.
Do you have a preferred one?
Technically, I prefer to be female, but I'm remaining male for the moment.
Yeah, that might be a good idea since that's what everyone here recognizes you as.
He nods.
I'm not really sure how you demons think. That doesn't. Actually, that's a really good question. Does me referring to you as a demon bother you?
This guy seems pretty nonchalant, and he just sort of shrugs when you ask.
Okay. Anyway, any idea of what a good language would be to teach the orb?
Well, perhaps some sort of coded language like. And he says this world's equivalent of Morse code, so we'll just call it Morse code. I see no reason to call it anything else. So he just says, "Oh, Morse code." Sounds good.
Okay. Oh, that does sound good. Okay,
Do
and I
you
start
know
beginning.
Morse code?
I know, like my because my cult has an ancient form of coded language, but I don't know Morse code.
He nods and says, "Perhaps we should have thought of this before we decided to do this."
What do you think, Orb? Do you think we're idiots?
The orb is in your hand, and it flashes once. It flashes once.
I'm going to teach you my ancient holographic language thing, coded language thing. Maybe that will.
And the incubus says, "Can it draw?"
Well, I mean, it's an orb. Maybe like a crystal orb, it can like show symbols in it. Can you do that?
That's an interesting question, actually. I didn't think about that. Well, the orb, I do have a picture of it.
I've been thinking that question ever since I heard about the orb. Can it show things in it?
I do have a picture of the orb. It's mostly black, and it has like glowing sections in it, like almost as if it's like chipped paint sort of style. So it's like black with like chipped paint, and you can see inside, but it's sort of just clear. You can just see to the other side, unless if it's glowing. And it seems like when it glows, there's just like a little source of light inside. So you
To ask it, hey, can you show Pacific symbols and stuff?
it flashes. I'll say it flashes twice.
Damn it. Hmm. Is there any books on Morse code anywhere nearby?
The incubus says, "Do you know of anybody who's particularly academically inclined?" And when he says that, you think of the archaeologist. He has a bunch of books in his desk. Maybe he has something.
And then what about the necromancer? I mean, he's a wizard. He's inclined to read about stuff.
Yeah, you could ask him. He might possibly know Morse code.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the archaeologist though first. Let's go to the archaeologist. I think he would be the best bet. But if he doesn't have it, I think our next best bet would be the necromancer dude.
All right, so when you get to the archaeologist, you see Jaden standing there. He's sort of trying to convince the archaeologist that that whole thing is good for everybody. So you're Jaden. You're in the middle of a conversation with the archaeologist.
Okay.
And you see them both approach.
All right.
So, if
Hey.
you wish to. Hello!
Yeah. And I look at the dwarf. I forget his name.
You technically don't know his name, but he's just known as the archaeologist to most people.
Okay. Hey, archaeologist. Do you have any books about Morse code?
The archaeologist, he looks up and he's stroking his beard because he's contemplating this demon guy, and he sees the demon guy standing right next to you, and he's like, "What do you want with it?"
Well, we want to teach this orb how to speak Morse code. And I hold up the orb.
He actually seems to slightly forget about the demon thing for the moment, and he's like, "The orb speaks?"
Yeah. Ask it a question. A yes or no question, by the way. It only knows yes or no.
He looks at it and he says, he looks at it and he says, "It's very hard to think of a question on the spot. Do you live around here?" And it flashes once for yes. And he's like,
It said yes.
"Fascinating. If times were a bit more peaceful, I would ask if I could study it. But if you wish to teach it a language, that would be very helpful for anybody who wishes to speak to it." He looks at it. Again, this guy has a huge wooden desk, like the equivalent of an oak desk. This huge obtuse thing, and he has like that big chair. So he's looking through the drawers on his desk, and he looks in one and he pulls out a book and he tosses it to you and he says, "It hasn't really come in handy, but I brought it along just in case." And he closes the drawer.
Oh, thank you.
So it shows you, like in the book, it shows you like the dashes and things like that, and it even goes into detail about like applications, what situations you might want to use it in, those sorts of things, and the history of it, all that stuff. It's a big book full of like the history and how to use it and those sorts of things.
I kind of pull the orb over to it. Do you think you'd be able to learn this?
It sits on top of the book, and it flashes 3 times.
Hey, that's good enough for me.
Although you don't know if it can read. So you might have to read it to it.
Okay.
You can ask it if it can read, but
Read.
it flashes twice. It can't read.
That's
Doesn't know how to-
okay. We'll have to read it to you. Let's go, Horny Mikey.
All right. So you guys go off. So is there anything else in this peaceful time that you want to get done? Because then we'll say you guys get a night's rest, and then we'll pick up in the morning. I don't know how much time we can go.
I'm actually gonna have to go in a half an hour, so.
All right, we can do maybe a little bit in the morning, depending on what you guys need to do for the rest of the day.
All I'm doing is teaching with Horny Mike. I'm just teaching the orb how to talk in Norse code, starting it anyway.
All right. Yeah, that's actually a useful thing that nobody thought of up to this point. So,
Well, I have an intelligence of 16, so.
all right. Well, it's a useful thing. The orb so far has only been able to say yes and no, and it just originally they didn't even know that they could talk to it. So it's a very interesting artifact. So
Brains
again
also
is
befriended the incubus.
so you have a new friend in the incubus. So if there's anything you want to do for the rest of the day other than that, Jaden, did you have anything that you wanted to do?
I'll go give the mystery seeds to the farmers.
All right. They'll do their best. They are farmers, of course, so they know how to try to get seeds that don't look like they're doing too well to try to blossom, that sort of thing. So they're gonna employ their methods to try to get these things to work.
Okay. And then I would go hunting for the rest of the time.
All right, fair enough. I'll say that you meet up with the Lehman group. You don't walk into too far, and you manage to find them hopping from tree to tree, sort of like lemurs. They're hopping from tree to tree, and they're looking for stuff. But you seem to be breaking their stealth, and one of them says, "Get up here!" And one of them's trying to pull you up into the tree.
Okay, I'll climb up.
All right, so you get up into the tree, and he goes like this up to you, and he points down, and you see that there seems to be a couple things that they're chasing through the woods. It seems like one of their methods for hunting is to chase something through the woods long enough that it sort of overheats and has to stop, and then they can just jump on it. So he just points to this thing that they're chasing around in a circle.
Okay. So I'll just watch him.
And he says, "You almost broke our circle."
I'm sorry. I will hunt elsewhere.
He puts his hand like this up to you, and he says, "Just stay here for the moment." And you see, it looks like a boar, possibly, that they're chasing around in a circle. And they're up in the trees, and sometimes they make like noises to like direct it to make it feel threatened from that direction, and it'll just keep going in it's a pretty big circle, so you can't see it the entire time, but you can see like it come back around this certain section because it's a pretty big circle that they're running it around in. And eventually, pretty near where you are, you see it sort of stumbling, and then it falls over, and then they jump on it and start stabbing it and stuff to kill it.
Okay.
So you can take that method into your mind for later.
Mm-hmm.
It might be useful if you can get some people who are good at jumping from tree to tree, or if you can employ it in some other way.
Can I jump from tree to tree?
If you're in plate armor, no.
Okay.
I'll say no on that one.
Right.
People in full plate do cartwheels, so
Well, I'm only
You-
chainmail.
It's possible, but you're heavy and you could break the branches easily, so
That's
you
true.
would probably end up falling.
also exhaust you far quicker.
So you can just get down out of the tree after they finish hunting this boar creature.
Okay.
So you can keep those methods in mind in case you get like a bigger hunting party. You might be able to instruct them or something.
Mhm.
Or maybe you'll be able to use it later on in life. Who knows? And as they get you out of the tree, which they help you get out of the tree, because he just sort of like reached down and pulled you up into this really high branch,
Hmm.
and so you might have a hard time climbing down. So they just help you, and they say the doppelgangers are in this area, and they point out an area so that way you can avoid their area.
Okay.
And they say, well, we're going to go look for something else, but we're going to try to remain in this area. And they sort of section it out. And since you're pretty good at tracking, you can understand what they mean by the different areas that they're trying to hold up.
I'd probably go to a different area then.
All right, fair enough. And I'll say that you find a nest with those forest ferrets in them.
Yeah.
And you successfully get 5 of them,
Wow.
adults.
Okay. Oh.
Because they for Thrainen's sake, you are familiar with this creature. It lives in this area. It's a 6-legged ferret,
Hmm.
and it just lives in the forest, and it lives in these underground, sort of like a colony almost. They dig out a little areas so that way a bunch of them can live in there at once. And they have like families and stuff like that. So Jaden found a nest and caught some. All right, so you bring those back. And by the time you get back, I'll say that it's nighttime. Because I'll say that that was midday when we started. So you wake up the next day, and I'll say that Frannon, you're sort of in the middle of their camp, and you just sort of have like a little spot where you can like deactivate and just sort of like just sit there if you need to in the middle. They don't have a bed for you or anything, but you don't really need one, so you just sort of deactivate in the middle of the camp area. And when you guys, well, Frannon, he's able to perceive while he's resting, whereas
He
can't because they're asleep. So you notice a guy coming over towards where you guys are about the time that you would normally reactivate anyway.
okay. I kind of activate and look at him.
He sort of is curious about you, but he says, so you're with him? And he motions to Jaden.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine enough. Just wanted to tell Jaden that Baston seems to have awakened, and he wants to speak with him.
Oh, okay. I'll go find Jaden and let him know that.
Well, Jaden's right next to you.
Oh, Jaden. I look over at Jaden and is he asleep?
Yeah, he would normally wake up at about this point, but he seems to have overslept a little bit.
Okay, I wake him up. Jaden, there's someone
Yeah.
looking for you.
What? Where?
The best Stone character woke up and they let me know they thought you might want to go talk to him.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and Jaden, you notice that It's the sun is in the proper place for you to be have awoken a little while ago. So.
Okay.
So you guys can go together if you wish.
Yeah, you want to come?
I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay and continue teaching the orb.
Okay.
Alright, fair enough. That's fine if that's what you want to do. I'll get you that.
At this point, until we leave or do something adventurous, I'm gonna just stay and maybe I'll take a couple breaks to like talk more with the incubus about himself. But for the most part, I'm probably just gonna be teaching the orb Morse code.
All right, fair enough. Jaden, I'll just say that you don't notice Howler, and you don't notice Indaro anywhere nearby.
Okay.
I'll just let you keep that information for now.
Nice.
The last time you saw Howler, he was mumbling something about his dream that he had, and he walked up into the woods. So, he didn't say anything specific about the dream. He just said that he had a dream, and he had to find out something. So he went in the woods.
Okay.
All right. Let me see. So you go back up to the cells where Baston is, and he is awake, and he's just leaning against the bars. He doesn't seem to look up at you as you come in.
So, do you remember anything from yesterday?
He looks up at you. Says, "I apologize. It was and he sort of does a motion like the black stuff that came out of him was the cause of it."
Why were you tied up and infused with this darkness back in the Rubald, or what city we were in for that one little bit?
Rubald.
Yeah.
That's right. The combination of ruby and emerald. He looks up and he seems like he's a bit tired, but he's awake anyway. So he's just sort of leaning his head against the bars, and he says, "Oh, you know about that, huh?"
Yeah. The other person that was tied up told me through some sort of sorcery.
So she's trying to escape. We didn't have much choice in the matter. We ended up on its plane, and it just, well, you know.
Yeah.
So where am I at the moment?
You're at a
I remember what happened since I woke up in the padding and in this cell, but I don't remember anything since we encountered the thing.
you are in a Thraxian temple at the middle of the, what is it called? The Everfrost, the
Ukrid.
Ukrid. Yeah.
Yeah, the Ukrid forest.
Ukrid Forest.
It's, though usually the phrasing is like the Amazon, so it's the Ukrid.
Gotcha.
So that's how it would be phrased. And he seems to know what you're talking about, but he says, "There's a temple in the Ukrid."
Yeah. It's all ruins, but yes.
Oh, it seems like I've traveled quite far, haven't I?
At least you wouldn't have to walk here.
I understand if you keep me in here. I don't remember what I did to get here, but with this black stuff, I understand you quarantining me.
We'll just keep you in here for now, but maybe sometime we'll let you out. We'll need trust, of course.
Yes, I understand. So how's the world doing?
Not very good. We're on the last spot of undarkened land. Whatever you want to call it.
That's not good, huh?
No.
Well, he seems to be pondering what you just told him. Well, the thing, I don't know what to refer to it as, said that it planned on devouring the world. Is this pretty much all that's safe? Euclid?
Seems like inside the darkness is also safe, but it's also connected to people. I'll describe exactly what the beast was, that as best as I can, and that it was connected to everybody, possibly for feeding on them.
Yes. As soon as you described it, I had similar thoughts. Said that it wanted to eat the world, so that must be its method. He seems troubled about this. By the way, I'm Baston. I'm not sure if you knew that.
I heard it before from one of the people. I haven't heard too many tales of Rubald or those places. I'm from Rawside.
The
Very
other
small
side
town.
of the Aquan Ocean, I think.
Yeah, next to the city.
Yes. Next to, I'm familiar with the proximate area that you're talking about. Although Rawside is a pretty small place.
Yeah.
The reason I know about it is because frequently aid from the war would come from there. So, boats and things. I'm sure you're familiar with the docks that are relatively near there.
Yeah. We used to visit there every once in a while.
As nice as it is chatting, I'm not sure what more I can offer you.
Are you feeling hurt? Is there anything that I can do?
Other than my jaw, I'm fine. It must have happened during my convulsions. I don't remember too much. It's a bit hazy.
Yeah, I asked someone to make sure that you weren't to leave the cell, but he thought he should punch you. So.
Well, someone's spewing black gunk everywhere. It's fine. I forgive him. And he looks outside the bars and he sees his weapons there and he says, so I brought my weapons with me. I'm
Yes.
in my padding, so I assume I had armor at one point.
Yeah, we have it over here on this side, just until we assess if you're a threat to us.
That's fine. I assume I may have attacked you, maybe?
Yeah, but it's okay. You weren't too strong.
Well,
It only took
it's
3
funny
of
you
us.
say that. I'm known for being a war hero.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Yes, the light bringer of Rubald.
Yeah, it only took us 3 or 4 people to take you down. So some hero, I suppose.
Perhaps the Shadow didn't know how to wield my capabilities.
Perhaps. And maybe you'll get the...
I do have a very difficult fighting style. And he points over to the 2 lances, which are 2-handed weapons.
Yeah.
Which you saw him wield. He had one in one hand, one in the other, and he would try to thrust them into your chest to try to keep you in place, and then he would wield the other one, and he would put his back onto the hilt of the spear or the lance, and then he would flip himself up into the air and do acrobatics and things. So you think that if he was able to pull that move off, you may have been instantly killed.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to successfully ever pull it off. It took too much dexterity on his part to do, and perhaps the shadow was impeding his abilities. You're not sure.
Okay. Well, I'll check on you a couple times a day, and we'll get a rapport.
This will be fun, I suppose. Although the world is ending, I guess you might have other priorities to take care of. I won't blame you if you just leave me here.
And I'll get some padding for your bed.
Don't worry too much about it. I've been in jail before.
Okay. No, I'll walk out.
And as you were aware, in your vision, you saw him in jail, and he was in worse accommodations. Like dirty floors, like rats and things. So this place is relatively clean and tidy compared to where he was before. So he just goes back and sits down on the bed.
Okay.
And of course, he's still just in the padding stuff, so if you want to get him better clothes, you can try, but there might not be too much that you can choose from. So he seems fine.
Okay.
The guards will return to their posts. And you can...
that's it for me.
Right. So we have about 10 minutes. So was there any little things? I see there's an intelligence roll.
I was just rolling it to see how well I could actually comprehend the book to teach the orb how well to roll.
Well, you have a very good reading skills. Considering you're a construct, you can basically remember everything you've ever seen, sort of thing. So you easily just read the book, the lines in the book, and you retain them into your memory, and you can recite them as many times as this orb needs it to. You'll never forget what's in this book.
Okay.
So you did perfectly well.
I wonder how bored this the succubus actually is at this.
He sticks around with you for the first little while in the morning, but then the scouts said that they were going to go out, so he was going to go with them. So
okay, see you later, man.
He just sort of gives off to you, and he flaps his wings and flies over the trees to try to find.
Maybe it would be more interesting. Maybe one day we'll be able to fight together. That would be pretty cool.
Well, he aided Jaden and Howler when they were trying to get through the wall in the first place. And apparently his phallic horn is also capable of impregnating any human or any humanoid. But it also has other effects because it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's a projectile that comes out of the horn, which he has to stab it and then he injects it. It also has other effects that can do things. It's a con save. I'll say that he told you basically this information except for in character. It's basically like a Constitution saving throw, and if you fail it, then you get a disease, which eventually leads to an impregnation, and the disease It's a custom disease that I
Is it
made.
kind of like the slats? Is it kind of like the slats where with the tadpole?
Similar. Yeah, it makes you weaker and that sort of thing until the impregnation starts, and then when that happens, you basically just are pregnant. And it even works on males, except the baby, when it's impregnated in a male, it sort of is like a belly burster. It comes out of the belly.
Oh, and if a female is impregnated, it just is born like normal.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Okay.
if you're male and you get infected with this thing, it can be quite more detrimental to you. So yeah. So yeah, we'll say that that's it for now. Is there any questions or anything that you want to bring up? Smaller things that you might want to ask about?
Not really.
The only thing that I can think of to bring up is what direction and how long are you thinking on waiting to go in that direction? Are you planning?
You know what? That actually is a question we need to kind of ask. Where are we going to go?
I
Because we
mean,
can't just stay in the village forever. I mean, we could, but
Technically, you're level 5, so according to the main books, level 5 is usually recommended for expanding your horizons past your little area that you're in. So from 1 to 5, we had the temple area. So
I say we head to that mountain that may have others of my kind in it.
right, if you have the map, I can look at it. Give you some information.
I got 5 minutes.
Alright, where's the map on my thing? I have stuff ordered fairly well, but it goes in alphabetical order and I never remember what I name it. There we go, there it is. I have it on mine. It's taken a bit to load it, but okay. So the mountain that the others of your kind is. You see that circle under mudflats that's labeled Chalarney? That's
Yeah.
where it is.
Okay.
So you guys are up top at that. Well, it looks like a half circle at the top where it says Temple of Thraxium, Rubble City. And the place
Okay.
where Thrainin was deactivated is where it says Kanata Village, which is up just a little bit south of there, it looks like, on the map. And if you have any questions about any of the areas, I can give you basic rundowns of the terrain, sort of thing. For player knowledge, your character might not know what's there, but I can give you basic information on what might be there, so that way you can sort of make a metagame decision on which direction you might want to go. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
all right.
Yeah, I'm good. Though I think, yeah, we definitely need to figure out where we're going to go after this.
Yeah,
And how long we're going to stay in the village. And how long we're going to stay in the village. Like, I do want to teach the orb Morse code before we go so we can better communicate with it. But
it'll
I have no
it'll do its best. That's all I can tell you for now. I'll get you the results on that later on.
Okay. And I'm clicking on the world map now. So, okay.
And if you need like pronunciations, anything like that, if you want to know where, if there's like, I don't have everything on the map like towns. I just have. Sorry.
So where was the mountain? Where was the mountain again?
So on the bottom of the map, it says mud flats near the bottom, and underneath that it says Shalarney. That's where it is.
Oh, okay, I see it. Yeah. Okay, so it's on the other side of the world.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's go there.
Well, you have to get through a couple other things to get there, but you can. That can be your goal. It's up to you guys.
Yeah. I mean,
What do you
imagine
think
the
you would-
army that we could get.
Yeah, there are
Or
a
the
few
secrets we
armies that you know of. They're in the place labeled the Undying Wood. That has an army that you are aware of. It's undead army, but it's still an army.
That sounds amazing, especially if I decide to go the route of the necromancer.
Yeah. Okay, so there's that. Shalarney has an army underneath it. There are a few other places here. Jaden would be familiar with Plaza de la Montaña,
Yeah.
which is on the west side, the west little land bridge, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. On the west land bridge there. They have the Thieves Guild there, and your family's there. There's a whole bunch of reasons why you might want to go there.
Yeah.
And Howler might want to go there. Though Howler has had a vision, which might want to draw him in another direction.
Okay.
Okay, then we should wait to decide on where we're going until after we talk to Howler.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And, well, you guys can message in the Facebook chat if you want. Although
Definitely will be doing
the guy who plays Howler, he lives in Europe, I think. So time zone stuff might be a little bit sketchy there to get to actually talk to him.
Okay.
So that's.
And apparently we have one more player too. He just hasn't been able to come on for a while because of personal issues, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he his family and such is near the Undying Wood, that little town that I have circled. That's where he's from.
And Atrador, is that what that's called?
Something like that. I haven't actually got the pronunciation from him, but I allowed him to, since I was making the world, I basically allowed everybody to make whatever they wanted, pretty much. But I just said, make basic stuff, and I'll try to fit it in. And he came up with a name for his hometown, so I just added it. So.
Okay.
But since I was making the world anyway, I was fine with him just making up the name of the town anyways.
Volcanic Waste sounds like a fun place to go.
Yep. And there's that big circle, which I can explain to you if you wish, but if you want to save it for a surprise, you can.
I would like to save it for a surprise if no one knows.
All right.
I guess we will know where we're going. I have to get off. We will know where we're going when we talk to Howler next week.
Alrighty.
See you guys later. I've got to go.
See ya.
Alrighty.
I gotta prepare for another game.
Alright, fair enough. I'll
Okay.
see you, talk to you, or he's not even here, so, so yeah,